Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, March 30th. We'll call to order at 6:37 p.m. First item we'll get into is review of patrol officer resignation warden. So we received a letter of resignation from Officer Warden, effective Wednesday the 1st. So we appreciate his time with us and wish him the best in his next chapter. Just to set the stage as we're talking about policing in general, so I want to make sure we covered that one. Anything you guys would like to add?
No, just like to echo your sentiments, but nothing further.
Yeah, nothing to add. Wish him well, and hope he has a good career and continues to move forward. And good luck in his new endeavors.
All right, and then next item, we'll go to discussion regarding proposal from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Chief, you want to come up? Or Sheriff Streeter?
Gentlemen, thank you for having us.
For having us.
Welcome. So, Chief, why don't you just give a really high level of what this proposal is for
Sure.
everyone?
Do you want to start with the ACO, Chairman Smith, or
Well, we'll start with the patrol,
patrol support?
please.
Yep. So obviously with the recent resignations, Sheriff Streeter reached out to me and wanted to offer any support that the Sheriff's Department could provide. Her and I, along with a couple members from her team, met and kind of high-leveled went over what it was that, where we'd be struggling. And kind of came down to that she would maybe be willing to offer the assistance of one or two or 1.5 officers that would be able to come over and help us out. During our meeting, I told her that, priority would be second shift. The 3 to 11 shift, looking at for some assistance for 4 on, 2 off. She took that back to her team, and I'll let her speak on behalf of that. But you guys do have an MOU that was presented to us from the Sheriff's Department. So.
Yes, so thank you for having me here this evening. What we've done for the past year, I was appointed sheriff in February 2025, and we've had, prior to my appointment, my predecessor had sent a number of officers to the police academy, one in Boylston, and I believe the others were in Holyoke. At this point, we have about 6 officers who are fully post-certified and FEFTIO trained with different departments. We have 2 currently in Greenfield, and we have 1 in Montague. And so with the availability of our staff, I spoke to the chief, as he said, and we talked about sending someone over here, or evening shift or day shift, or just to help out through this difficult time that you're going through. I feel like as the sheriff that, this is somewhat of a public safety emergency, and not to imply that he couldn't do the job without us, but, given that as a part of the county, one of the county leaders, I felt that, we had a couple of people that we could perhaps send and help get you all during this difficult time. And we submitted the MOU, I think, which, as you said, you have a copy of.
Yes, we do. Thank you. You gentlemen had a moment to look it over. I'm assuming you have some questions just in general.
I have a question for the chief and Sheriff Streeter. Either or both can answer. The officers that will assist us in the town of Erving in law enforcement services, will they be coming in and roving in and out, or will they be assigned shifts to work?
I would like it to be, we can work out the details, and we're here to see what you folks would like to have, but the idea is that the officer would be assigned to Erving. That would be the officer's primary responsibility. The officer would come to Erving, would have access to our building, would have, in speaking with Sheriff Streeter, the only thing that we really need to provide at this point would be access to our computer system so that they can enter calls and so forth, and then our body camera. They would just be issued a body camera. But they would report 4 days on and to Erving, and
Correct.
that's how we envision it. So.
Thank you.
So I had two questions, and I believe you've already answered 1.5 of them, so thank you for the information. I was, in fact, looking for clarification on item D of the MOU, which does speak to the body-worn cameras. And I want to clarify that that means that the sheriff's deputies would adhere to our policy and wear them in all interactions. So I'm in agreement with that. And the other thing I'm glad to hear, without getting into operational security or any deeper than we already have, just to understand that they're committed to our jurisdictional borders and will fill the spots where chief deems needed. So other than that, I did read through the document. I'm satisfied with it. Sheriff Streeter, I do appreciate your gesture of support. It's going to be a little bit of time before we get up and fully functioning. The only thing is would to ask the TA if council has had a chance to review this document yet, or
Council's reviewing. They haven't concluded their review, and I told them that you'd be meeting tonight. So they said that any feedback that the board had or anything that came from this conversation, bring back to their attention, and they would get you their feedback later this week.
okay.
And our legal counsel's prepared to add any questions, and
Yeah.
he could actually attend meetings or be
Okay.
available for any questions that they may have.
I'm assuming it's a similar MOA as to what's in place with the city in Montague.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I have no concerns with the document as it's presented, pending feedback from council.
I just had a couple. One was with regards to the termination clause or term clause. It says either party can, for any reason, including convenience, upon written notice, effective immediately. There's no time frame on it, so I just think we'd want to put a time frame on it.
You would like a
Not
time
to-
frame?
Yeah, some sort of time frame. Either party, it's not going to happen that day, right? And I wouldn't expect in reality we'd want some sort of window, whether that's a couple weeks or something, for either side to
Sure.
kind of rearrange the scheduling and such. I don't know if either of you have any opinion on a length,
I have,
or Chief, if you do.
Yeah, I think a 2 week, would be helpful. That way, and same for Sheriff Streeter. I would imagine that, if all of a sudden Irving's like, yeah, we're done, and wait a minute, what are we going to do? So
Right. Is that
I think that's reasonable.
sufficient?
That would be reasonable, yes.
Okay. And then in terms of just the overall process, so we'd be issuing a Erving body camera. If I'm following this, we would grant access to that system for the sheriff's department as necessary relative to the work being done. Is all of, obviously some of the entry and stuff might happen in our systems, is all of those records and such being kind of maintained as a sheriff's department record? Or are we maintaining them? And just thinking, like, we talk about body cameras, but then there's cruiser cameras, there's reports, there's all the different pieces, and so
So what we've done in Greenfield and Montague is that the department maintains those,
they do, okay,
yes.
all right.
We
And
do
then,
have, we do have our own system of reporting and those kinds of things, but the ones, the official ones, I guess, would be with the individual departments.
okay. And then,
And that would be my recommendation too, Chairman.
okay, no, that makes sense. In terms of the cruiser cameras, I assume the sheriff's department's vehicles have cruiser cameras?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And they'd be operating in a
Not
sheriff's?
not all of our vehicles, but the ones that we would assign would have
Okay.
cameras.
And they'd be utilizing those vehicles during shift here?
Correct.
Okay. And then would we have access to that camera footage for
Yes.
the time needed as necessary for reports? Okay.
One thing that came up, Chairman Smith, when myself and Sheriff Streeter were talking was potentially the ability to use Erving cruisers.
Okay.
We never really hammered out that issue.
So in discussion with legal, it would be, we would have to use our own vehicles in that capacity. And also wear our uniforms. And some of that has to do with unions and some of that has to do with, other requirements from our agency. So that would have to be the case.
Okay.
Yep.
I expect liability and insurance, it would be challenging for
Exactly.
us too to consider that side of it, so. We should probably add a section about that, similar to the body worn cameras done, just in reference to the cruiser camera footage and accessibility in reverse. I think that was the only other one, just from a process standpoint that I noticed or had questions on.
I think the only thing I'd like to add, I was under the assumption that the sheriff's department would be in our cruisers. I don't have a problem either way, but I just think that this is a public meeting and so the community is listening to it. I don't want them to be surprised when they're pulled over or for whatever reason, law enforcement reason, that they'll be pulled over by the sheriff's department. And so I think we need to make clear and through our websites and our outreach to the community that will be happening and you will be operating within the limits of our community so that people aren't surprised by it and,
Absolutely.
or confused by it.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
Yeah,
That's fine with you.
absolutely.
Obviously, there's a few more adjustments to the contract, waiting on legal, obviously, and we can work through with your legal as needed for any adjustments there. How quickly would the sheriff's department be ready to implement once we signed and agreed to an MOU?
I would say within the next week or two.
Week or two? Okay. And to Bill's point, then I'll give us a little bit of time to do, we get to that point, we sign, we are kicking this off, we'll have a week or two to communicate, or we can target a specific time frame so that we're able to communicate to the residents.
Yes.
The 3 individuals that we have involved had done some FTO work with Greenfield PD and Montague, so they obviously haven't been here in Erving, but they do have some level of experience
Okay.
that have been on the road.
Excellent. Any other questions or items? I think we'll obviously bring it back at the next meeting for another review, or if we're still pending council, but obviously a couple edits to make based on the conversation here.
I don't think there's a reason we can't adjust these items that you all have addressed and get a red line version back to the sheriff and council, and I don't think there's a reason we can't have that for next week.
Okay.
Great.
Excellent.
Excellent. All right, well, that's that one. And then similar topic, discussion regarding the proposal regarding the animal control services.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff's Department.
So,
as well as Athol.
Yep. So we had been using Athol in a per diem agreement. Athol did, I want to say last year, reached out to us and was hoping that we would come and have a formal agreement with them. And that fell through. But thankfully, Chief Lundgren, retired now, he kept it a per diem. But Athol has presented again that they would like to move forward with making it more of a formal agreement. And when myself and Sheriff Streeter met, just off the cuff, she asked what we were doing for animal control. And, I told her that we were in the process of talking with a few different areas to try to come up with a solution for not having one. and they were able to provide us with an email, and as you guys can see with the letter that I gave you, it has Athol's rough number, and then it also has the sheriff's number for what they would be charging us for FY27. And it is my recommendation. I know we've kicked this idea around about animal control and bringing one back. Both these towns are offering exactly what we would be looking for. But, in a nutshell, taking over full responsibility for animal calls. What I do like is that they also not only cover dogs, but they cover rabid animals, raccoons and nuisance animals and so forth. And so I do know other agencies in the county use the sheriff's department and are very happy with the service that they get. And I also know that Orange, Athol, and Royalston have been working well together with their animal control officer position as well. So both, I think, are established good programs.
So we currently have 21 towns of the 26 involved with our animal control services, and 24 of the 26 involved with our animal shelter services.
Wow, that's almost all.
So,
And the majority came to us. I mean, this started in 2012 when some of the towns said, we need assistance in this, and so we started with 7 or 8, and now we are where we are. And to be honest and clear is that we're providing these services. We have about 4 animal control officers who are doing services 7 days a week, not 24 hours, but and so we've had to the past couple of years increase our fees somewhat. They're nowhere in terms of what we actually pay out, but just to be aware of the fact that we have increased them the past 2 years, and we're looking at a potential new dog shelter, cat shelter. It's being potentially going to be built in Deerfield.
So I appreciate the assistance that Athol has provided. Certainly, from everything I know, the experience has been great. But to Bill's point, and socializing that you're going to see different marked vehicles, different law enforcement vehicles, for the purpose of socializing it with our community and understanding. I would recommend we keep or utilize the services of the sheriff's office for this as well. Same department, same service for our community. Then I go, well, now the state police and Athol and sheriff's office and our own, and who's policing us, who's providing us services. I think or if you add in, the Athol barracks and their patrol units coming through, 3 patches is enough in the town.
All right, go on.
Sheriff Streeter, the $7,768 figure for ACO services, is that a partial year figure or a full year figure?
That I believe I didn't.
That was in the email from
Chris.
him.
It would be a full year.
Thank you.
And so the sheriff's department subsidizes the program. It's not self-funding, if I followed what you were saying before.
Yes. Yes, we do.
It seemed low, so I would appreciate that, especially this year with finances. Obviously, cost plays a factor for everybody.
It does.
Do you, I don't have it right in front of me, do you know what the coverage hours were for Athol?
I'm sorry.
For Athol, I want to say, when me and Brian met with them, I want to say they had 2 full-timers and we're thinking about bringing a 3rd part-timer on, or 3. And they were just day shift, from my understanding.
7 days a week, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a day shift. I think.
Yeah, okay. So similar coverage. And on call for the off hours for the sheriff's department, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. And response is based out of the shelter, I'm assuming, for response time?
Well, actually, not necessarily. People have actually take the cruisers home.
Okay.
So we've just ordered 2 new vehicles that we haven't gotten as of yet, but our animal control officers do take the vehicles home.
Okay. So if we're on call, they'll be dispatching from there?
Correct.
And then during the regular hours, they're dispatching out of the shelter?
Not necessarily. They're
Okay.
out and about quite
Around,
often, so,
okay.
could be, but not necessarily, they're not locked to a desk there.
Okay. I don't have any concerns. I think it makes sense as well.
No concerns here.
I don't think, there's probably a standard MOU for that. I don't think that was in there, but you guys can
We
get
do.
that and work through that.
So we can bring that all back for your next meeting?
Yeah, that would be great. So we'll have a couple of those to look at next week.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to bring both topics back at the start of next meeting
And they wanted a standard MOU with the ACO.
for ACO.
Did he send you that?
Barring any legal issues, can we have motions for those two items?
You want to make motions tonight?
No.
No. Prepared.
Yes, I'll
prepared.
bring all that back to you with draft motions, correct.
And the recommendation is to start that for the next fiscal year for the ACO services. Is that
Yep.
right?
That
Okay.
would be my recommendation, sir.
So we've got.
And I do have it in the budget to cover that with the current ACO that we have.
The current budget.
Well,
for it.
we've
current
been
budget.
level funding it.
The
but
existing
yes.
budget will
Yes.
cover it? Okay. All right. I think that's
Yeah,
all.
I-
We need
I
to
would
obviously
just-
get that to legal too for review, but I'm sure it won't be a direct. Go ahead.
I would just like to make a point that somebody on behalf of the town does reach out to Athol and express our gratitude for their partnership during this time as
And
well.
they, to your point, Mr. Loin, they were aware that we were discussing it tonight,
Yeah.
and that there was a second offer from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, so they're fully aware. I reached out Sunday afternoon to their chief, and I will follow up with him.
I appreciate the transparency. I want to make sure they understand that we're grateful for the partnership and the support they provided us.
They've been
Well,
great
that-
partners. So.
Absolutely. And for the next 3 months, give or take. All right. I think that's what we had for you, Sheriff. Thank you for joining us tonight as
Thank
well.
you for having me.
Thank you.
Chief, we've
Appreciate
got
it.
more for you, I
I
think,
do.
right?
Yep.
All right.
Nice meeting you all.
You as well. Thank you. Review and potential appointment of patrol officer positions.
Just give me 1 minute to pull it up here, please. So as you folks are aware, we've obviously posted for the positions, and the hiring committee has met 3 times, maybe 3 times, 3 or 4 times.
At least 4, yeah.
Yeah. And have reviewed applications and have conducted first round interviews. The hiring committee recommended 2 individuals that I have met with already and have conducted background checks on them both. And I have submitted 2 letters, and it would be to hire or to recommend Alex Meisner for one of the positions. And then the other recommendation that I would like to make would be for Nicholas Stone. I'll just give you some highlights on Mr. Meisner. He does have the full-time police academy, but he does not have on-the-job street training. Has never been through a formal FTO program. I would add, though, working for the Sheriff's Department, that he does have experience with booking and working with the computer system, and so I think he would have a good knowledge of IMC. When I came in and did the background, he was familiar with our fingerprinting machine. That's the same one that they use over there. So there is going to be some things that he's already trained on and ready to go on. The other individual, Nicholas, he does not have any police academy, and he does not have any on-the-job training experience, obviously, although he is in the military and he serves as a military police. And so I think that he does obviously have some high-level experience of report writing and interaction with people, probably conducting interviews and stuff. I don't want to sound like I know a lot about MPs and what they do on a day-to-day basis, but he's done very well in the short time that he's been in the military. He's been promoted to sergeant already. He's fast-tracked. Spoke with his platoon sergeant, and he was very impressed with him. So I think that he would have no problems being successful in the academy and as a police officer.
Well, thank you, Chief. You partook, so.
Yeah, so I will just add, I participated in the screening and interview process. Can support the chief's comments. Mr. Meister does have the training. He does have directly transferable skills through administrative process and whatnot. A solid field training program and spending time with the chief and training. He can learn our culture, our policies, procedures, process, and the level of service and expectation that our residents expect from our police department, specifically to community policing and engagement with the villages, with the different departments, and interacting in non-law enforcement capacities, social capacities, if you will. While he doesn't have street experience, I think through good, solid field training, he could serve as a good officer. The other candidate, Mr. Stone, in addition to his MP experience, currently works private security for a firm, and did, excuse me, and had interacted with law enforcement, engaged in events. He struck me as a young man with a great upside potential. And while he doesn't have the academy, I think supporting and sponsoring him would pay dividends for the town. So I have, to say it shortly, I have no objections to either of the chief's recommendations.
If I could just make one more comment, Mr. Loyne brought it to my attention about the academy. I did look, Marlboro is holding an academy in June, early part of June, and last time I checked there was 30-something seats, and I believe I put that in the notice. That I checked that Sunday when I came in, and that was the seats that were available. So they start with 45 or 46, so only a handful have been taken. But as that date gets closer, those seats will be taken up quickly.
Understood. Go ahead.
I have no concerns. I respect the process, and I believe in the chief of police, and if he's recommending these two candidates, and the committee has reviewed that as well, and recommend the process continue for both of them, I have no concerns.
Thank you, Bill.
Do you need a motion on Mesner?
Well, so I'm clear when you say continue, you're talking about moving forward with an
Moving
appointment,
forward, yes.
not
Yep.
with the next round of interviews with us,
No.
right? Just to be
Yes.
clear.
Yep.
Yes, I don't have any. I think the only thing would be just discussion around the starting step. If there's any concerns or not.
I have no concern.
No concerns, as I stated previously.
Okay. Yes, a motion would be great.
I make a motion to appoint Alexander Meisner to the position of law enforcement, Erving Police Department, Step 2, to start at the rate of Step 2, $28.91, with a start date of on or before April 27th, 2026.
And I would just amend that with a 1-year probationary period.
Yep.
And successful completion of pre-employment background and drug
Drug screening, and
screening
psychological
and
examination.
psychological. Thank you. Does that cover them all?
It does.
Okay. So combined.
So, are you amending the original motion, or as a point of order, do we have to second
Yes.
the amendment?
Yes.
And then the original?
Yes.
So-
Second the original and then the amendment, I guess, right?
Probably yes.
Yeah, in that
The first
order.
motion didn't get seconded yet.
So,
Probably should have done that first.
I will second Selectman Bembury's initial motion,
Okay.
and I will further second Chairman Smith's amendment to the motion.
All those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Just a couple questions on the next one. What is required to reserve a seat in the academy?
So in order for us to get him a seat, he has to be a member of our department.
Okay.
And we have to get him registered with ACADIS.
Okay.
Once we are registered with ACADIS, then we can go into ACADIS and save that seat.
Okay. So has to be actually appointed and employed, active. And then how long does the CADIS take? Is it quick?
It's quick.
Okay. And then if it's a June 1st start, I know there'll be some pre-academy stuff that he'll need to do.
Yeah.
What else would we be having him do during that time frame in between?
So to be perfectly honest with you, Chairman Smith, this is new to me, but there will be a physical that he'll have to take for the academy. There'll be equipment that he needs to get. There'll be an orientation that he has to attend to, and those dates are set by the academy. And outside of that, we would have him in, start learning the process, going through policies, procedures. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot we can do with him until he has the certification.
And it's not a long window. We're talking about like a month, right? Roughly. But
I've never signed anybody up for the academy, but my understanding is and I guess my fear and understanding is come May, if you're not saving a seat by May, you might miss out. I would imagine that the academy would have their physical sometime early mid-May, because they run a second test for anybody that fails, and then orientation is probably a week to 4 or 5 days before the start of the academy. So I would imagine that would be towards the middle end of May.
got it.
And so if we're looking to get him on end of April, with the psychological and the physical that he'll have to go through, he will need an extensive physical. It won't be just a pre-employment physical. The academy requires a specialized physical, which requires a special doctor to give that physical. AEIOU offers it, but they have to bring in a doctor.
Okay.
And that process can take a month to get that going. So.
Will we be doing that in lieu of, or in addition to, after he's been hired?
It would be in addition, because it would cover everything that the town would be requiring for a physical plus.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't do it twice.
Okay.
This was the-
So no, we would only do it once.
Yes.
So his pre-employment would be the more complete academy required one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I believe.
So I'm clear, because I was confused there.
When I believe what the chief was speaking to isn't a physical that the academy conducts, it's a physical assessment test where they will run him through, or any candidate, through a battery of physical tests, an obstacle course, running a distance within a certain time,
Okay.
certain physical fitness abilities to gauge that the candidate can be successful. And they do it several weeks in advance so that if anybody does have deficiencies, they know what they have to work on. And if they're young and relatively fit, they have 2 to 3 weeks to
Get there?
take any corrective measures.
Sounds familiar to academy people we've sent before
Yes.
when I've been on the board. We just haven't done it while we're hiring before, so that's new.
It's a hoot. I can attest to it.
Yeah, I bet you can. Mr. Stone is reserve, not active duty, right?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
And I did speak with this platoon sergeant. This is nothing new to them for obviously,
Sure.
and I explained to him that I'd be looking at a June academy date, hopefully, and they have no concerns.
Okay. I think that was my only questions. I don't have any concerns.
Are you ready to entertain a
Yes,
motion?
please. Yeah.
I will make a motion to appoint Nicholas Stone as a full-time benefited patrol officer in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 133, for a term of 1 year, pending successful completion of a pre-employment background check, psychological examination, physical exam, and drug screen at a rate of grade P2, Step 1, at a rate of $28.16 per hour, and with a start date on or before April 27, 2026, with continued employment conditional upon successfully completing the Massachusetts Police Training Committee Academy and obtaining Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission certification.
Second.
One question relative to that. So it has the successful completion criteria. Do we need to change the pre-employment physical exam to be the academy physical exam? Okay.
No.
Okay. Because if they were unable to complete that, they can't get into the academy. And
Right.
there's a 1 year window on it, but I don't know that that's what our intent is here. So I just want to make sure if unable to do that, are we potentially waiting for next round, or is that a disqualification based on the appointment?
It would depend on whether or not there was another academy that would fit in the schedule, and if there was an opportunity to work towards that.
Okay, so the physical, failing the academy physical would not necessarily be failing to meet the criteria as we read it.
So to be clear, the physical assessment that is done includes everything we normally do,
Right.
but then raises to the level that the academy needs.
Right.
The only reason we don't typically do that at first is if there's too long of a gap between when that assessment's done to when they need to do it again. We have to send them for 2 separate physicals regardless. So we just don't conduct the same battery twice. But all
that's
of
not
your
what
officers are going through them. We're already doing this.
Our normal physical for them is not the same though as this one.
They all go through it. If they have not previously been to the academy, and we're going to set up, yes.
Understood. What I'm saying is, if the individual didn't pass the necessary physical for the academy,
Correct.
is that disqualification as we just read this appointment, or is it not disqualification and would be bound instead to the 1 year to complete the academy timeline? Do you understand what I'm asking? Is it clear what I'm asking?
Unless if I'm misunderstanding you, I apologize, but I
okay.
think we're getting lost in the process. If there's a 1 year timeline to complete this work, and the next available opportunity is in June,
June.
if that is the the physical that needs to be completed to meet the standard to get into the academy,
Yes.
and for some reason,
Right.
candidate
Hypothetically.
A can't make that work, if there's not another academy that will fit within 1 year, then I would come back to the three of you and say, we have a problem and we may have a disqualification.
But what I'm saying is we said pending successful completion of a physical exam. And so what I'm asking you is that failure of potentially the candidate in the physical exam to get into the academy count as a failure of the physical exam required for employment?
Yes.
Which means it wouldn't be 1 year, it would be immediate.
The 1 year is a state requirement.
No, but pending successful completion. That would not be successful completion of the physical.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no 1 year on that.
1 year on,
Do you follow what I'm saying, Jim?
No.
Does that make sense or no?
I thought I did, and
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
so.
To me, it would.
I'm just
it-
trying to clarity on
right,
which is
right.
it.
It would depend on, to me, it would
So-
depend on what the conditions were in the medical, physical,
Okay.
would determine
Right.
whether that candidate would still be a resource or
Okay.
not.
Okay.
But I do understand what you're asking.
Usually they're separate, so they would pass and be employed under our normal employment physical, and then sometime down the road, if they had to go to the academy, they would then have to pass the academy physical. In this case, we're doing it one and the same. So the academy physical and our pre-employment, you must pass physical are the same thing now. So does that mean if they don't pass it, then they're not employed? It's not a after some period of time. Do you understand what I mean?
no, because the same test is included, but if your preference would be to conduct this at 2 separate times, we can structure it that way. You can't get around the 1 year offer. That is a
I know.
requirement by law.
Yeah, I know.
And you can't get away from not making this conditional upon continued employment being included with the successful completion of the academy and achievement
understand.
certification. So
I'm not trying to change those two.
I'm not clear what
So-
you're trying to
so
change.
now
Can you
maybe
say
I'm-
that in a different way.
maybe
You
I'm
follow me.
getting-
I think, can I say something real quick? If you were to pass a
It's
physical.
up to Jim because he was the one speaking.
Go ahead,
next.
Jim. Sorry.
So, my understanding, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, we would conduct a medical physical exam on the candidate. The academy conducts a physical assessment test, or do they also conduct a medical physical exam?
We have to submit to them the results of a medical exam
So
as a prerequisite.
we conduct the medical physical exam, submit the results to the academy then conducts a physical assessment test, which is not a medical exam.
Correct.
It's a test of their physical condition,
Correct.
but not conducted by a medical professional.
Correct.
Correct.
Following that, the physical exam that we normally would do for pre-employment, is that the same one that we're going to do because we have to submit it to to the academy?
Yes.
Plus.
I'm getting no over there.
It's plus.
There's
So,
additional requirements that the state needs signed off on.
yes.
But the
So it would be our normal plus
Yes.
at the same time in the same exam.
Yes.
Yes. Unless you want to pay for it twice.
So, no, I don't. So, if they didn't pass the physical exam, which is more in depth than our normal,
Right.
that's a pre-employment requirement.
Yes.
Correct.
When we separated those two tests, they could get employed with our normal physical and then fail the more thorough one and still be an employee and still have a year to complete the academy, if able.
Sure.
In this scenario, do they have to pass the more in-depth one and otherwise they can't be employed?
Well, anybody who has the academy has had that more in depth.
Right, but they didn't have it on their hire date.
Sure.
So my question is are we precluding them from being hired if they fail it?
But ultimately, the three of you are deciding whether or not we're sending them to the
I
academy.
understand. That's not about that. It's just that normally these two would be separated, and if they're tied together, it could change what the impact is to the candidate.
So
That's all I'm asking.
hypothetically, so he has to take a drug test, right?
Yes.
That's part of the physical exam.
Yes.
Part of our normal too.
Hypothetically, the test comes back and he's been using cocaine for the last.
I would say we would.
Hypothetical candidate.
Right.
say we would-
Hypothetical
Hypothetically, I would say we would
Um,
sever our
So,
relationship.
so that would be a failure,
Yes.
a massive failure, to
Yes.
say the least. He wouldn't go any further.
No.
Okay, so the answer is no.
It's fine. I'm gonna just leave it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is that all I have?
I have to look back at the agenda. I think so, but yes, sir. You're good. Review and potential appointment of the facilities maintenance manager position.
That's the memo to your side.
Mm-hmm. Go on. Questions, comments, concerns?
I have no concerns.
So for those, do you want to just give us the short version for those who are watching, listening, aren't reading this in front of us
So
on what your recommendation is,
short version is
or
we've
both
had,
of your recommendations?
short version is the board has approved the job description for a facilities maintenance or facilities manager position last Monday after 3 reads. Some questions and some kinks got worked out of it. Everybody's all approved of it. So the board has a recommendation in front of them to appoint Thomas Duffy, the current highway foreman, into this position. I would ask that the board make this effective immediately. There's a lot of work to be done in a short amount of time quickly to get going. So I think an effective appointment would be very beneficial to the town. And this would be a lateral move, so there's no difference in finance. It's the same step in grade.
Okay, and then the foreman position?
That is going to stay vacant at this point through this fiscal year. And hopefully look at it after the new fiscal year and see where we stand financially.
Questions on that?
None.
Now, I know we've had past discussions, and from a multi-campus, multi-building organization that we are, and we are investing significant amounts of money potentially in these buildings in order to maintain the longevity and the care to extend the life cycles of things potentially like new roofs, like new HVAC systems. They need routine maintenance, care, and attention, and I think it's a good investment. I'm worried about the bandwidth with the vacancy of the foreman position, but Glenn has spoken in the past, and he has a plan to make it work, and he has, at least in my opinion, yet to let us down. So in Glenn we trust, for now.
Thank you, sir.
Until proven otherwise.
Until proven otherwise. It has no time limitation on that, but I value Glenn's experience and his knowledge, and I'm in support of this move at his request.
I share the concern, and I get the sentiment for the rest of this fiscal year, but if we're not budgeting for that in the next fiscal year, I don't know what's going to change between now and then that's going to make it feasible, at least in the first half, which is a lot of time from now. So I am concerned that we're signing up for 18 months potentially without one.
Mhm.
If we don't look at potentially doing something in the planned budget. Because this position, making the lateral move, then the funding moves with it. Because there's no other bucket of funding today for that. So then that position is, there's just no funding for that as well right now. And if we're not incorporating that in the budget discussions, I don't know that there's anything we could do in the next at least 9 months, if not longer. So I just want to make sure we're transparent about that. It's not just 3 months from now. So I am totally in favor of what's recommended. It's just the vacancy it creates and what we do with that. So
I
maybe
would say,
more to discuss in the
Yeah.
next session, but
Yeah.
just to
it's more than just this discussion here, but, yeah, I have some notes, I'm working on a few things, and then I'll be bringing it back to the board. Probably sooner than later for thoughts. But not tonight.
that's fine. I didn't expect them tonight. All right. Go ahead,
Motion?
please.
Make a motion to appoint Thomas Duffy as the Facilities Maintenance Manager, grade PW5, on the Public Works Compensation Schedule, effective May 30th, 2026.
March 30th?
Can we do March
Oh,
31st?
What did I say? I said March 30th, 2026.
I thought I heard
What am I
May.
looking at?
Did it, or did
I don't know what you heard.
effective-
I was thinking of 31st because, well, the day is almost up. If you don't mind amending it to the 31st.
Effective March, amending that to March 31st, 2026.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Joe.
Excellent.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
And it is about 7:30, so if everybody wants to come up and get settled, I'm going to cover one more while you guys get settled in, please. Review and potential vote to extend administrative assistant appointment. So at this point, Emily, who's here obviously, has been assisting us, and the initial appointment temporarily was through March 31st, tomorrow. So the request is to extend that at least for another 6 months, and then go from there. Is there any questions, concerns?
Is there a reason why we're only going 6 months out and not the full year?
I think it was to give us time to just kind of sort out what's changing, because there's a lot of moving parts,
There's a lot of
and
moving
it's
parts.
just it's one day away. But I share your sentiment. I don't know that there's a reason not to go further, but it will give us a little runway to kind of talk about it. We can always extend it or readjust it sooner than September.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good with that?
I believe that's an appropriate amount of time for us to navigate all of those moving parts, and we can adjust accordingly. So I will make a motion to extend the appointment of Emily Pollard as a part-time, regularly scheduled 21 hours per week administrative assistant through September 30, 2026.
I will
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, with that, I will call the joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee to order at 7:32. Looks like we have quorums. Yes. Okay, perfect. Is there an acting chair for Capital tonight?
Is the acting chair for tonight? Second? Second, he said.
Is there any discussion?
Not on this table.
All those in favor on the
Aye.
Capital Committee?
Aye.
Aye. Sure.
I abstained. I am not voting for myself.
All right, you are the chair of the Finance Committee and the acting chair of the Capital Planning
Awesome.
Committee tonight.
Thanks, Linda. I'll
I-
remember that.
I figured it was
If you need
just,
another chair, I can give you two.
just to consolidate things, that's all.
All right.
Streamline the process.
Yeah,
Exactly.
All right, review FY27 operating budget. Let's start there.
I don't know who's talking first.
Looks like you.
I will talk first.
You want to talk first?
One of the things that has not been addressed yet, and this is typically I think actually we're 2 meetings behind schedule. This is usually by the time that Capital has presented their recommendations. And so in your packet was the summary chart. It's not all the multiple pages of detail that you've been reviewing for months, but the summary of the projects, the departments, the amounts, and the potential sources. So that item's in there. And then this morning, you were forwarded from Pete Sanders, the proposal from Time Bond. It was an item that Capital has been holding a placeholder for on Plant 2 in Erving Center. So there should be a printed copy in front of all of your spaces. And I wish it was a number that was much lower, closer to the placeholder amount. Unfortunately, it's not how it turned out.
And just to be clear, I said operating budget, but really jumping into operating budget, capital budget requests, and project revenue estimate, projected revenue estimates at the same time.
I don't have it placed in front of me. Could you tell me what was the placeholder amount? And
The placeholder amount was a optimistic 400,000.
okay.
In fairness, and I know Pete's with us if you all have questions, the clarifiers are an important part of the overall functionality of the plant. And it clearly is a part that has arrived at the end of its useful life, so it really is a critical component. And it's something that we became aware of in the last few months, that it needed to be considered for the upcoming fiscal year.
I don't recall in capital's discussions. Obviously, there'll be some discussions that the board has to have with Erving Industries in regards to this. But did capital make a recommendation on funding source?
For this particular project?
Yes.
No, we did not because we were waiting for the estimate to come in.
Got it.
And this is
Big number.
double at least what we were hoping it would be.
Mhm.
Since it's just been in, I'm not on the capital committee, but can I assume there'll be discussions with Erving Industries?
Of course.
Um,
Correct.
And, yeah, okay.
Yeah, on where the costs land ultimately and all of that, yes. Can't speak to what that will be here now, but yes, that would be part of the process. Pete, thank you for coming up. I just had a question and I'm just flipping through it because I just saw it. So is there a timeline on how long they think this would take from, like, signing a contract to construction completion?
I haven't been told a timeline. I can find out for you. It'd be a roundabout figure. I know they were waiting to get the cost prices for some of the equipment from Lakeside. They build clarifiers. So what they're looking at mainly doing is gutting the whole clarifier, leave the concrete, and replace everything that's rotted, corroded. You know, do everything, do it right. So I mean, it's. I really can't give you a roundabout time.
I didn't know if you had that in your discussion, so
No.
like design and then final design, it looks like it was like 16 weeks, but I don't know beyond that, you know. That's a good chunk of the year, you know. It's not half, but it's a good chunk of the year just to get to final design, so
Right.
I'm only asking just to understand, like, would we even get to completion or the majority of it in the fiscal year? Or is it going to be a multi-year project, at which point maybe the first year funding doesn't need to be as high? Don't know.
I would probably say the lengthiest part would be gutting everything out of there, because then everything will get shipped in pre-made from Lakeside and then put it back together. I can't assume that it would take a long time, but I'll try to find that out for you.
Just a ballpark. Are we talking 8
Yep,
months,
just a
12 months,
ballpark.
16
Sure.
months, something in that range?
No,
Right.
I see where you're going with this. And just,
Can we split it?
A lot of capital discussion was about doing through a certain stage of design in this fiscal year cost, and then knowing that setting up a future cost. And being it's a big number, it's another one where that may be relevant. And we need to have some discussions, obviously, with Erving Industry too. So
Could I ask, are the clarifiers still clarifying, or they're prepped out and need to be immediate, or?
like a really bad pun. Is that a clarifying question? No.
They are very bad.
if you didn't ask it, I was going to.
They are really bad. They are rusting through. They have I-beams on them that you can literally put your hand through. I do believe it's probably some of the problems and reasons why they have issues with the bugs and their blanket leveling and everything. They're designed to work a certain way. There's like an inner ring. The inner ring's half gone, and then over the years they try to patch it, and then the stuff's falling off. That clarifier is a real mess. And if any of the corroded beams were to give way at any point, it'll destroy everything in there. Then it's even a worse situation.
Just so you know, Pete, I'm just sharing the pictures that you provided capital with
Sure.
them, because I happen to have them, so Kelly will pass them down the line. And if anybody else wants to see them.
I saw it in person. I'm good.
I mean, you can see in the pictures over the years, they've patched the I-beams there's like a catwalk, and there's a suspension of I-beams that hold the main motor for the flight gears and everything. And they patched them with other pieces of steel in there. Then there's sections of it's just rotted and gone. When you were out there, Jake, when they drained the clarifier, there's a ring, outer aluminum ring. It's just corroded 3-4 feet up. It's gone. So I mean, it's in a corrosive environment anyways,
Yeah.
but it's
Okay.
definitely needs to be fixed.
I simply asked, but it's been a long time, and I don't know, changes may have been made in the agreement we had with Erving Industries since about 1971 or so, that we own the place, they operate the place. And how these kind of expenses are shared, or if they're shared, I don't know what's currently in the agreement, but hopefully there's something there that we can continue to have an ongoing, mutually beneficial relationship with Erving Industries and the town of Erving. There's something that's not lopsided to one side or the other. We've worked together well in the past, and I expect we probably still can.
Great.
Financially, so.
Everybody's aware of this potential project, but it was hard to have a conversation about what the scale and what the need was until we had this dollar amount this morning. So,
Okay.
I think as we've engaged with them on in the past. We have opportunities with funding sources and preferable rates and other municipal, in the public-private partnership we have with them that can help that. So
It's
hopefully
just,
find some path forward for both of us that makes sense.
yeah, hopefully there's some funding. I mean, this is a case where federal government came in and said, you have to build these places, which is fine. And we don't want stuff to keep going in the river. And we can't say, well, we're not going to fix it. We're going back to dump in the river. Can't do that. But perhaps there's some funding available, I would hope.
Agreed. Yeah.
Is there more than one clarifier at POTW2?
Yes, there is. The second one is working fine. It's that can actually probably looked at more intensely a year or so down the line. It's not the wear and tear on there is pretty normal. It's functioning fine. It does what it's supposed to do. So I mean, maybe a few years down the road, we need to look at that one. The main clarifier, the one that we're looking to improve and fix, does most of the work.
So my second question would be, so when that goes completely down for repair, does that stop the operation or?
No, it doesn't. So the day that we went up there and inspected it, they just diverted the flow strictly to the
The backup secondary.
Yeah, they basically ran that as like another secondary. It runs different than the one we're talking about repairing. So they can run it offline. The plant will run offline with that clarifier while it's being repaired. So they'll be fine. But like I said, at some point we'll probably look at that. It's not to any repairs on that. There's minor compared to this. This is the big one. It's the most important one. It's very vital to the way the plant operates, so we can continue making permit.
So they can skip the secondary, which is this one, and run on the tertiary for a period of time if needed.
Yes.
But it's probably not as efficient or high volume or whatever as the secondary that we're talking about,
Right.
which is what they did when they drained it for inspection. But they
Right.
could do that for long enough to do the work.
They can.
Yeah, not just a day.
Right. No, it'll be a lot longer than a day.
Yeah, exactly. Did they inspected the tertiary as well, right? So we do have a repair quote coming for that.
I asked Joe about that. We should be getting that at some point here.
Okay. Because they drained it and did the inspection, right, on the tertiary?
Yes.
Okay. I know it's not the high priority one, but it was one of the outstanding ones. We were looking for numbers just
Right.
to know what we had to have ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions on this one?
Not so much a question, the numbers in front of us, but I just want to go back to the conversation we had recently, earlier this evening, regarding proper maintenance schedules and upkeep. Is this something that the degradation wouldn't be as bad if it did receive proper routine maintenance, or is?
I would say yes.
And is this something that our newly appointed facilities maintenance manager should have on his radar moving forward? Not as the sole responsible party for it, but something to keep track of and keep an eye on to make sure that if there is recommended routine maintenance, we're
Yes.
following it.
I've gotten copies of all. It's in piecemeal. I don't know why it is, but I've gotten copies of all their O&Ms for the plant. So part of that, I was going to pull out the clarifiers section of it, and we'll have a better understanding going forward. And not just the clarifiers, everything else that's there.
So that's something that you'll be checking on a more regular basis and ensuring that it's being met as well?
I am going to have to, yes.
Do you recall how long these have been there? How old they are?
51, 52 years.
1971, did you say?
Yeah, something like,
1974, 1975. The Clear Water Act went through it.
Since it was built. They're original.
Yes,
That's original.
those are, yes, those clarifiers are original. There's nothing that's, I mean, they did a little patchwork here and there to try to get by, but we're beyond that.
Is the tertiary that old too, or no? Or
Oh,
was
yeah.
it just a different design, so it just
It's a
hasn't taken
different
the
design, so there's less moving parts, wearing parts. So like the one we got to rebuild and fix, the rake. The
And
rakes
it's not
wear
the
out.
primary.
The skags on the bottom wear out. We have a couple on ours that are worn. We'll just replace them, and at some point, I mean, they all get retrofitted at some point.
Okay. Other questions?
Just for the public consumption, so that they know the conceptual construction cost estimate, which was done by Tyne Bond with a 20% contingency, is $979,500.
Correct.
Could I ask it somewhat
Thanks for
related to this,
clarifying that.
but not far from it? When you're having discussions with them about maintenance and all that, I mean, 50 years is a long time, something to last, even if you're trying to maintain it well. But might we bring into the discussion painting, whatever that big tall thing is, it's all rusting and.
That's
and
gone.
It's gone, okay.
That's gone. That's been cut
Not
off.
there anymore.
It's gone.
Let's not paint it. Okay,
Well,
Nope.
the answer is no.
good. Thank you.
Is it a salt silo or whatever it was? But yeah, it's
Yeah,
got.
the lime silo.
Yeah.
Good.
But to that point, there is an asset management plan. Plant 2 was included, and we've been working on Plant 1 and other assets throughout the town, but we used that same asset management plan to begin conversations with Ursico about where to prioritize. The lime silo was one of them. It no longer had a functional use, so the board surplused it. Ursico removed it. So we are working through that asset management plan. The clarifiers weren't called out to this level at the time, but this was an item within the asset management plan as well. So we are working through that approved document and engaging Ursico in those conversations to get the maintenance where it needs to be.
Anything else on the proposal?
No.
Okay. Thank you. So the capital planning committee recommendations list with obviously something that needs to be adjusted here for PHAB number 2's clarifier repairs is in our memo here. Any questions or comments from finance or the board relative to the items? And do you want us to run down them, or are you good with what you've seen? And the sources to fund them from?
I left here last week thinking we were getting really close. I don't feel the same way. Okay, let's start going through them line by line. That would be my preference. And
Right,
Do you want me to just run the list?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So the first one is the cemetery expansion for $1.1 million, and capital planning recommends borrowing for that. Next up, we have a fire truck. This is the second half of the payment that was appropriated last year, so the balance is $420,000. We recommend capital stabilization.
Just gonna interrupt you for a second. If anyone
Sure.
has anything, just pause. Just ask her now, or ask when it comes up, and we'll just keep going otherwise. Thank you.
Next up is the highway department Ridge Road improvements for $878,000. That is a split between Chapter 90 and capital stabilization. I'm sorry, I just realized I did not put in what that split was. I don't have those figures in front of me. Okay, my counterpart does.
I think I can help you there.
Roughly. We won't quote you on it.
Okay. 367,000 from capital stabilization and 511,000 from chapter 90.
Okay, thank you. The multi-purpose whacker Newsom, $247,100. That is a capital we recommend from capital stabilization. However, it will be a 5-year lease for $49,420 with us owning it at the end. And if anyone asks what that is, Thomas is going to take that one for me. He's going to put me out of my misery and get to that. Because I will not do a good job explaining it. Next is the 2026 Ford F600 with the sander, plow, and chassis. $125,000 through capital stabilization. Bridge Street culverts for $400,000. That they are looking to apply for a grant, and that project would not move forward if a grant was not awarded. Brian, I threw this under administration because I didn't know where else to put it.
I don't know where to
Is-
put that.
We're
Years.
calling it doesn't have a technical name, so Capital is calling it the IP Mill Mass Works match of $600,000 from the capital stabilization. For IT, we have computer and network equipment, $35,000 capital stabilization. The camera and security access project for $350,000 capital stabilization. The library. This one I do want to just add a little caveat. We did change this a little bit, and I'm realizing now we did not let Abby know that we had changed this.
I've met with her and discussed it with her.
Awesome, thank
Yes.
you. Okay. So when this was initially put in, it was put in as a project to do a roof extension over the outdoor heating and generators that are on the library where snow falls and falls right onto the equipment. After talking with Brian and Glenn, we have changed it to be engineering costs for $30,000 because we think that it is going to well exceed that amount. So we would like to do the engineering first. So that was recommended as capital stabilization. Replacement police cruiser for $75,000, capital stabilization. Wastewater, Pete is still here. I'm going to we consolidated these all into one. Stairs, a leaky tunnel, the gravity valve, and a shower for a total of $147,200. There's a remaining $114,000 from a prior project that was appropriated, so we're going to grab that funding, and then the balance would be wastewater stabilization. The clarifiers, as we all just heard, we placeholdered $400,000, and we had not discussed funding sources for that until we had a more accurate figure. For Lillian's Way, again, we feel we should be doing the preliminary designs first. So we put in $31,000, and that would be water stabilization. And then River Road preliminary designs. This would be a split between the water and the highway department for $68,000, partially coming out of water stabilization and partially coming out of capital stabilization.
Is that a 50-50 split, or was there?
It is not.
It was waiting, well, it was also waiting to determine what the potential balance would be in capital stabilization, because there's not sufficient in there to cover the water portion
Correct.
with the prior project as well currently. And I know Pete was meeting with the team to discuss recommendation for how much retained earnings he may recommend to deposit, so we may have enough to cover that portion. But
That's your next memo.
so we didn't have it yet. I don't remember what the split was
Got
if
it
we
right
had
for
the
you.
money.
41,160 is water. 27,440 is DPW.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that in 1 second.
Of course.
How much from capital?
General capital.
Yes,
That would be 27,440.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can figure out the other.
You got it.
Other than POTW number 2, any questions, concerns with the recommendation?
I just have one question. The very first one, you mentioned borrowing. Do we consider at each time we have to borrow, possibly borrowing from ourselves to be cheaper than borrowing outside, from borrowing for stabilization and paying it back? I don't know that that's a possibility, but sometimes it is. Just wanted to mention, just a thought.
I think we need to decide that now, at least, or we would hold it up in the future because we wouldn't have the authorization to do that. So
Sure. Just
yes, but now's probably the time to at least take a stab at whether or not that's what we'd want to do,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I do.
and if we'd want to pay it back or not. That's
yeah.
that's another piece to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to comment for all the 1,000 people watching that there's a lot going on for a small
Oh
town.
my goodness.
And a lot of these things, very, very few of them, do you have a whole lot of choice. I mean, you have to fix the treatment plant. You have to have the bridge fixed. It's things that, it's a very cautious and thoughtful process about how we're spending, or recommending that they spend their money, which I'm glad there's this thoughtful process. It wasn't always that way.
Questions? On POTW number 2 then, is there any thoughts on direction to start with? Do we potentially want to just bring a borrowing authorization or any other means, which we've done in the past, and that gives us the runway to do it under that or any other funding source that we can come up with by the time we get there?
I'd like to see a borrowing.
Okay.
Look at that, and I'd like to also look at how much of Ridge Road is important as it stands now. I'd like to look at some of the things that Capital has approved and see if we can find a way to maneuver through that as well. And if that means cutting something.
Differently than funding the 367 balance? Was there a subtotal on that, on what came out of capital? I'm guessing
had
you,
those.
you had that, Linda?
Yes, sir. $2,078,860.
Could you repeat that? 2 million?
Certainly. 2,078, 860.
What's the current balance of that fund?
I believe it's, and you can correct me, Brian, 1.75,
Pulling it back up right now.
1,750,000? Or am I wishful thinking?
That was 2 meetings ago.
Whatever the number is, it'll be with interest earnings through June 30 or July 1st, 2025, minus any expenditures from the STM. So it could be higher after interest today than then.
That's correct. Okay, which fund did you want the balance? I found it from
Capital.
2 weeks ago.
Capital.
Capital. We have a June 30, 25 balance plus the STM that we just had in March. That was 1,758,595.
Yep, got it.
By
In the 175 plus range.
We'll let it go.
Well,
Thank you.
This time. And then, I don't know if it was discussed last time, the recommendation is to put, is the request from capital is to deposit the free cash balance as well.
Correct.
So
Which
add
as
free
of-
cash, subtract 2,078,000.
Which, as of your actions at the March special, leaves you with a balance of 1,120,316.
So after that deposit, approximately 2.878.
Brian, can you rattle off that free cash number again?
course.
Yeah.
1,120,316.
Thank you.
Though I would encourage you to leave a couple $1,000s, as we've said in the past. This is your your retained earnings version in the general fund, and so if we move every single dollar and there's any issues.
Can you repeat that? Because I'm not following what you're saying. Leave a little bit of capital stabilization left in the capital
I
account?
was saying general fund free
Oh,
cash.
the free cash.
Right.
Oh, okay. You don't want us to budget down to 0 cents?
I would
Is that what you're
encourage you
telling
not
me?
to do that. It's going to make it very hard to close the books.
Okay.
So leaving a couple dollars in there is helpful. But you
Like
clearly
5
have
or like 5,000 or like
5,000 would be great. But you clearly have over 1.1 million that you can move. Absolutely.
so if we supported that, we're up in the 2.8 plus in capital, and if we expended what is recommended, we'd be down to about 800,000 approximately, or just shy.
I do just want to add that when we talked about the library, the roof extension, in speaking with Glenn, we did ask him if he felt that this was something that if we did the engineering in FY27, we could do the work in FY28. And he said, given the situation, he would recommend not. That if we did the engineering for FY27, we should also plan on moving the project forward for FY27. So that would mean potentially coming back with that for that funding at a special town meeting. Like he said, we've been very fortunate. The equipment has not sustained heavy damage. He did show us some pictures. You can see where dents have happened and things like that from the ice coming off. And he said we're lucky that it hasn't been worse or that lines themselves haven't been broken. In some instances, the way stuff falls off, it actually shuts power off. Is it the power that gets turned? The power actually gets shut off, and so someone has to go in. A lot of times it happens on the weekends. So it is something that he felt should be addressed quickly. We just didn't think that the $30,000 the library had originally asked was enough for the entire project. It seems to be much more substantial than what we had hoped they could do.
I'm glad to hear. I don't think you can wait until the next fiscal year
Yeah.
because I'm crossing my fingers and I can look from seeing Thomas's eyes.
It would be rather risky. It's the whole heating system, so.
Yeah.
Is it actually feasible that we can do that all in 26? To get a feasibility study and then move to the project?
For the roof for the library, I mean, it's complicated, but it's not. So, I mean, I looked to Thomas a little bit if you have an opinion, but I don't think it's impossible. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we need some designs, honestly.
Yeah.
How far out we have to extend it was one of the questions. That could be an issue because then you'd be dumping it onto the sidewalk or the generator, which we don't want.
No good spot.
So something that we need to look more into.
But to the timeline point, we could, especially if we would hopefully have it done before snow again,
Right.
which
That's
is even
what my
shorter
concern-
window, right?
Right.
We could put the language in there if this is coming from capital to fund it immediately and not on July 1, so that could start sooner. But the design phase could start faster.
Not that it would move it up a ton.
Right.
We do not have a special town meeting coming up anytime soon, do we?
Not before the annual.
Not before annual. Okay.
So we just have to do a fiscal year 26
Article 4.
article separate from the rest
Okay.
of your capital plan.
I think
we've
capital
done
would
that
be
before.
agreeable to that.
That's a good point.
That extra month would come in handy.
It won't hurt.
Can you explain to me what that would be? I mean, it would just be a separate article in the annual, okay.
Yeah, and it would just
We
mean
just-
that the money's available to you second week of May as opposed to July 1st.
The next day if it was approved.
Right.
Basically.
So taking it out of FY 27 and paying it with FY 26.
Right.
But it's coming out of capital, so we don't have to wait for raise and
Oh.
appropriate, so that's why we could do that easily.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
It would. I will. Well, I don't know. What other questions or thoughts on the list?
I'm still dealing with my sticker shock from
From that one?
yeah. Trying to think of,
There's a lot of them. I mean, the fire truck we committed to last year, so we committed to coming up with the other half of that this year. And I would just say, in terms of like what we have been doing in past years, if you remove that one, because we committed to doing that last year, so it's not like it's something that we be part of our normal rounds for this year, and the IP mill match, you're down around $1 million, which is average or less than what we usually spend every year in capital. So those two are really what's bringing it up above, you know, the 1 to 1, what, 1.2, 1.3
Yeah.
is probably our average, I think, annually in recent years.
And while I know the board, we put it under administration, and I know the board did not move. This is the first you guys are hearing about the match for the IP mill. Capital felt it was important. That building has sat vacant and had nothing done with it for so long, and we have this grant that is, they have been so generous in extending to us, you know, I think 4 years now.
Yeah.
That we feel strongly that it's time that the town acknowledge that in some way and say they are willing to commit to that site and that building for our town's future. And so this was our way of kind of hopefully showing MassWorks that we do mean that we're serious about doing something with that site and with their help and support. And the only other thing I do want to touch on is the water tower. I know it is a project of Rex that Rec would like to see go. Unfortunately, while we agree it's not the most sightly thing to look at, when you average that in against every other project that came forward, there just wasn't a way for us to reasonably put it in here. It's not because we don't want to do it for them, and it's not, I personally feel that there needs to be a broader conversation about who has ownership of that particular item. I don't feel, Bill, I agree with you when you had said that it's not necessarily Rec's responsibility. I know they want to see it gone. I know they feel it's unsightly and that they have concerns about its safety. It's not for lack of, if we had unlimited resources, that would be a different question. But unfortunately, when you put it in things against fire trucks and road improvements, it just doesn't come to that level of moving it forward.
Could I mention, just ask, I believe the concern about safety was people trying to climb up there or something, not that the thing's gonna tip over. I don't think that was their concern.
Correct.
Okay.
now,
It might be to our benefit if it just
I-
fell over.
I agreed with Bill's comments when he made them, and I agree with you. We have to prioritize and draw a line somewhere. And a lot of these are serious safety items, including the mill. And I agree with you on that. They've been very generous and patient with us, and you know, if I were to have perhaps one regret as my term comes to an end, I had really hoped coming in that we'd have something more substantive completed down there in this time, but I look at this list and I don't know what I'd take off.
That's where we were.
Yeah.
I would add too, I think, I don't know if it's in here somewhere else and I'm just skipping over it, but we talked about the deposits going in because I just want to make sure we're painting the full kind of what would capital look like after doing all this picture. We talked about the free cash, but we didn't talk about the recommendation that we deposit equivalent to the interest earned in the general stabilization fund into capital,
Correct.
which would be a transfer. And I think the recommendation was about $750, which is
$750,000.
$750,000.
Four zeros on top.
Well,
That's a little bit of interest.
We just solved our problem.
let's
$750.
say,
700.
let's buy two of these then.
Oh my goodness. $750,000 is approximately what interest earned last year was. So the recommendation was to add an article to move that from general to capital.
Yeah.
So now our balance is back up around 1.5,
Yeah.
which is close to where we are now. So we're not losing all the ground we've made just with this year's expenditures.
Yeah.
But we're also keeping in mind that you may be borrowing costs in the future too out of there, you know, because I think the capital committee discussed if we're recommending capital borrowings, then the payments should be future capital costs too, so. Understanding that carrying cost will be in there.
And I'm just going to throw it out there because it's been a conversation. Part of the other conversation that FinCom is going to delve deeper into is the general stabilization account and having what exactly is that used for, and can that ever be used for something like infrastructure repairs without this idea of paying it back? And just, you know, how can we use that and use it not just to have it in case we need to have it, but also in a way that it is genuinely benefiting the town and our residents. Because just having a giant pot of money just sitting isn't necessarily the best benefit for the residents. If a road is falling apart or water, you know, sewers need to get fixed and things like that. So that's something that FinCom is going to delve into a little bit deeper and potentially come forward with maybe some updated policies on that as well.
I recommended that for the IP match, but I was outvoted significantly
Yes, you were.
to take it from there because it's probably already going to be controversial as it is. So we'll see. At the moment, are we? I mean, I would like to give Brian direction on what he's starting to draft in the ATM because we are short on time. So I'm not saying we can't change numbers, but are we all on the same page with these items going into the warrant at least to start, and whatever the numbers, if we tweak them a little or not, but generally the list is right.
Mhm.
Is that
I am.
okay?
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Is that-
funding as kind of generally as prescribed in here for now.
Yep.
Okay.
And the transfer that you just discussed, am I drafting an article for that as well? That's the transfer from general stabilization into capital stabilization?
Capital voted in favor of it at our last meeting, so I guess that comes down to the Board of Selectmen's decision.
And finance too. If there's any concerns with that.
Yes. Sorry, too many hats.
I have
Good.
no
I know. With all your hats, do you? So yes, and then the free cash transfer.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm seeing nods all around. And we discussed doing the library roof extension as an FY26,
Correct.
and we need a 5-year lease contract approval as
Okay.
well to do that for the board.
And we'll get all of those into the draft.
And I would say, unless others object, maybe the POTW2 clarifiers becomes a borrowing authority.
I think I threw that out, or someone threw that out a little
Yeah,
ago, and that
yeah,
was my
I-
thought.
I didn't remember who, so I didn't want to put a name.
Maybe it was
to
Bill. Yeah, I don't know.
I
But-
think so.
We'll just start with it as a. We have some language we've used before with the borrowing or any other means, so then we can use any funding source we can come up with.
Okay. I will do it.
It leaves us the flexibility.
So I didn't put the ATM draft back in your packet because it hasn't changed from your last review, but for
It
your
will
next
now.
review, it will have lots of changes on it. So I will put everything as we've done in the past with Redline, so you'll be able to see all the changes.
Perfect.
And there's items we won't see on there, like the Bridge Street culverts won't be on there because it's grant only.
Anything that was grant only
And
won't show up
the
on
Chapter
table.
90 portions won't be on there.
Correct.
Oh, and we
There'll
have
be
the
a footnote.
transfer on the 114,000 transfer article too
Correct.
for wastewater.
Correct.
Could I ask, I believe our chair said that the capital had recommended that this 750,000 transfer. And I would just like to move that the finance committee recommend that also. To me, that is a reasonable use, just my opinion, reasonable use of stabilization. These may not be totally one-of things, but they're close to it. When you're doing things that may have lasted 50 years, or you need to fix a bridge, or it's not everyday thing. It's not to me, it's not operating budget like police, fire, highway, that kind of normal stuff, administration. I think it's a reasonable way to transfer from stabilization, because we do have a lot in general stabilization. So I'd move that the finance committee recommend that also, if anybody would second that motion.
So do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? I have to or I forget.
I know.
Thank you.
Okay. I think at least for the moment, that's the capital rundown with the exception of
Water and wastewater.
water and wastewater transfers. And so the next item we had in here is recommendations for transfers from retained earnings into capital stabilization. And if people have questions, we can have Pete come back up. But the FY26 water retained earnings was $184,559. The recommendation is to transfer $100,000 into capital stabilization, water capital stabilization, leaving the $84,599 for cash flow and operations. Questions on that one?
Nope.
That would put sufficient funds in there to do the split as the design split is for River Road Engineering.
Okay.
So we'll draft an article for that.
Okay.
And then for retained earnings and wastewater, we had a balance of $653,348 for FY26. And the recommendation is to transfer $153,348, or the balance above $500,000, into capital, and then leave into wastewater capital, and leave the $500,000 in there for cash flow, which is the same as what we did last year, I believe. We moved over anything above $500,000 into capital. So, any questions on that one?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, you got
I'll
that
draft
as
those
well.
articles as well.
We just added 15 articles in capital.
That's a
lot of different funding sources there. It's not as short as we've made them some years because there's a lot of funding sources here
Yeah.
now. Okay. All right. So obviously we'll talk about those again next week when we look at the ATM draft. In terms of operating budget,
Before you do that,
yes,
I'm going to
sir.
bring up one more
Capital.
tangential related, well, yes, and. So there's a memo in your packet that was right after that memo from Pete. This one's from Brandon. And we've been looking at your water use rate, which the water commissioner set. So I'm not asking you to set your rate. But as we've been having all of these conversations and the capital planning conversation from Tuesday that talked about needing to plan for a potential debt service when we do River Road, we tried to go back and relook at the model for how we've been assessing fees and determining what that rate should be. So I don't want to speak for somebody who's sitting here, but Brandon prepared this memo for you suggesting a different formula than what we've been using.
Okay.
And how that would be operationalized. And we suggested just for the exercise $50,000 in a capital outlay or a debt service per year as a working number. So hopefully that sets the stage for what he's proposing as a formula.
Okay. And the 50,000 is the debt service that would support in theory.
Exactly.
Okay. Which is probably not sufficient for the River Road estimate at this point.
I borrowed it from, assuming we only had to borrow for the water portion of it and pay out of this fund as opposed to the
okay.
road side.
Got it.
And I borrowed that from what we're currently approximately paying on the wastewater line that
Arch
we
Street.
replaced on Arch Street.
So this is anticipated split water portion,
Right.
roughly.
Correct.
Okay.
And
For the scope tonight, I think it was just if anyone had any comments or questions about the formula, Brandon's here to speak to it. And then any thoughts on whether it makes sense or alternatives or opinions. The board obviously hasn't, it's not a discussion to set the rate yet, but it's
No.
examples of what that would mean if we were doing that.
Could the assistant accountant speak to it?
Yeah, so essentially, Brian came to me with the issue where he was just basically increasing the rate by like I think it was 25 cents or 15 cents annually. And he only was doing that because the Department of Revenue came to us, and I think we were not going to set the tax rate if we were not increasing it. And so obviously we have to increase it. But he was just doing it just annually by a couple cents. And it's not really a formulaic approach to it. He's just randomly doing it. So I did some research on this, and I created this equation where essentially what we're doing is we're taking the total costs. This is going to include the operation costs. This is going to include the salaries, and this is also going to include the debt service, because you want to maintain a consistent debt service. If you don't, you run into a lot of issues. An example is where you'd have to do a debt exclusion, which you would not want to do. So that's why you always want to maintain the same level of debt. And what we do with this is we minus the non-rate revenues. So this enterprise fund, basically everybody using the enterprise fund is funded by those people. And there's three levels of cash flow coming from that. It's the usage, which is where the ROTA rates come into effect. It's the admin fees, and it's also like the there's also an extra, like, I think testing fees and
Right.
the backflow fees.
Correct.
And I think you've been budgeting that for admin fees for 21,680, and then the extra fees are 10,785. Those are not applied in the actual rate itself. It's a fixed fee people pay. And so what essentially you do is, example in FY25, if you take into account the ordinary expenses and the salaries, it was basically 83,000. It was a little bit under 83,000, but effectively round up 83,000. And including the actual capital outlay of 50,000, you add that and you minus the non-rate revenues, because those revenues are being applied to those expenses already. And that's where you're going to find the actual usage rate that people need to pay into. And the bottom of that is just the expected water usage. So in FY25 was 14,800 for the 48,697, and you just divide by 1,000 because the rates sit per 1,000 gallons. That's just to get the metrics correctly. But essentially what this is doing is minusing out the fixed revenues and applying that variable revenue, which is the rates, to cover the rest of the expenses. And this is much more of a formulaic approach. And if we see in FY25, if you use that capital outlay, it should have theoretically been 6.77 per 1,000. And I know this isn't in the memo, but the median for Massachusetts is about 8.58, I think, or around that. So this is still less than the median in Massachusetts. But again, this is much more of a formulaic approach instead of just increasing it by 15 cents randomly and, here we go. This is actually taking into account the expected debt service we're going to have, while also covering the actual expenses that we're going to also have in that enterprise fund.
Thank you.
Can I ask, is there any, it's difficult to compare apples and oranges of fruit salad, I know, but how much is there any average of what people pay for water bills? How much this might affect? They're going up 5%, 30%, 2%? We don't know.
I don't necessarily know, but I mean, it's going to increase their rates. Is it based on the usage though? It's going to be the usage rates. So, effectively, we would basically forecast what the expenses are going to be for salaries and ordinary expenses. We would minus those fixed revenues while also adding the 50,000 in capital outlay, and that would set the usage rate. Now, that would obviously be an increase. I don't know the exact percentage point, but I mean, it depends how much water they're using. Because again, it's a variable cost. This isn't a fixed cost, but it would increase, obviously, their baseline usage fee.
Yeah, I understand those who use the water should pay for it.
Yeah.
No problem with that. Just curious because, instead of just saying, gee, my water bill used to be $138, now it's $500. I just.
It's not that bad.
I'd like to have a clue, sometime.
We're all getting to the.
Pete, can I come up? I'm going to pick your brain if you happen to know off the top of your head.
Well, he's coming up. Can I just offer two things? One, just for the gallons, we used FY25 gallons for this exercise, but we typically do a 5-year average. So we look over and try to use that average as a projection as to what we can reasonably anticipate, because there are spikes from year to year. And the only other thing I would say is that a lot of your infrastructure is nearing that 50-year mark, and so we're starting to see that wear and tear.
Yeah.
And so if we don't start planning for that capital outlay now, and we're starting to see some of those needs on Lillian's Way, on River Road, we could end up with infrastructure that is in desperate need of repair, and we didn't put away enough money to be able to support the debt service. So that's part of the reason for this suggested transition. So, yeah,
So the people can then want to know why.
absolutely.
I fully support what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
I mean, we can foresee there are big expenses coming, we need to
yes,
charge a little bit at a time, so when they come up, you know, it's not like all of a sudden we need $1 million
Exactly.
we don't have.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I would just caution that it might be a large increase or some process to get to something larger, is how the board decides to implement something similar. It's to be determined, but this is just anticipating the costs of one project.
Okay.
If we have multiple projects and we have Lillian's Way and we have other projects, you know, in the future, hopefully we don't have other projects in the future, but we might, it would likely need to be higher if it was going to fully absorb it into its, because it's only really based on doing one right now.
Right.
And if that's not paid off in 1 year, so it would probably need to go longer. Pete, roughly how many households
That are on the system?
subscribers on the system?
265, somewhere
Give or
around
take?
there.
Okay. Do you have an average household usage number off the top of your head at all? Ballpark or no?
No.
Okay. Because we probably have some high water users and business
yeah.
and other things that skew that 14.8 million gallons.
Correct.
So to just divide it by 265 times $1.37 isn't gonna get you there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be much smaller than that,
Sure.
but
Right.
so it's probably not as bad as it.
Yeah, I understand. Higher users of water, higher water usage will cost more than people who don't use much. I understand that.
Right, of
Just
course.
if everybody's going up 3% or 8% or 32%, just what this will change their bill. And I don't have to know immediately. It's just a thought.
Pete, you can probably run that for us the next week or two. Just look at, like, exclude the large, I think, correct me if I'm wrong with the group, exclude some of the large business consumers that are, or large consumers that are not residential, and then just take an average gallons per year to give us an idea on what that would run, plus or minus.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. And that's for the proposed amount?
Yeah, if the rate was $1.37, an increased rate of $1.37, what's that increased cost for that average number?
Okay.
So if it was 100,000 gallons, what's that going to cost that average household? The increase only.
Thank you.
Brandon, you mentioned like 8 something is the state median
Yeah,
for
so
water rates.
I wouldn't take the average because there's gonna be some skewed
That's what I was thinking.
towns like that charge actually a really high amount, but the median is essentially like half of Massachusetts towns charge less than this, half of them charge more than this. This should still be less than this, and I understand the point of looking at, okay, this is going to be growing by this much for this individual household. But again, this is all variable costs. This isn't a fixed, say if we had a capital fee for this and we divided it by 265. To me, that's not equitable. People who are paying, using the water fees, water more than, other households should be paying more money. That's why we're looking at this from as a variable context. So if you increase it by $1.37, did you say it was? I think Linda did the calculations. It was 25% increase, but that's a 25% increase in the usage aspect of that revenue bill. And I know it might sound high, but again, we were probably undercharging relatively to what we should have been, because we had a decade of not increasing anything. And again, when you have this aging infrastructure in place, as we're starting to see with the water main breaks and these future capital outlays, you can't really be undercharging people. I know you don't want to increase it. I don't want to increase it, but this is still underneath the median. And also, you have to fund enterprise funds with what people are using. And you can undercharge them, but that means you have to go to the general fund and appropriate from taxpayers at least. And do you want to do that? I mean, it's up to you guys, but personally, the people using this enterprise should be paying for it.
I think you probably answered my question without a whole lot of extra research on Pete's part. If we're lower than the median, which is good, I don't know what we were currently, if 6.1 is the median.
5 point something.
45.
Yeah, so really low.
Okay, so if we're going up 20%-ish or so,
Yeah.
and we haven't had increases in 10 years or more, you know, a couple percent per year, we're up to, you know, we could have been increasing it a little bit at a time. Maybe harder for people to take if it's 20% all at once, but taking everything into context, they're gonna say, yeah, Dan, you're not paying my bill, but taken into context, it seems reasonable. Thank you. Well, they may not think so, but I do.
Little bites, not big bites.
Yeah.
Right. It's easier to get there slowly than just to jump there, for sure.
Right. I mean, every year with the water rates we always get from the USDA, sometimes from DEP, they recommend. We've only done it a few times as far as increases, but we get the letters that say every year raise it up a nickel to a dime per thousand, and we've gone over a decade without doing that. So, so now.
We've only made a few small adjustments, I think, in the last couple
Right.
of years out of the last decade, and that's it.
Right. And
Well, and just to be clear, there was a period of time, I think 2012 was the last time it was adjusted, and then it sat at that same rate for several years, and I believe it was 2019 that we really started adjusting it again. So it did sit for several years at the same rate.
So we got to play catch up.
Yeah.
If you want to do it right.
And it's aging, and our neighbors haven't experienced some of this stuff, and I'm glad ours hasn't been as bad, but we just never know. So.
Right.
Any thoughts, questions, concerns on the numbers? The formula recommendations so far?
I like it. I think it's equitable. You know, people who are using it are paying for it.
Right.
People who aren't are not. You know, I'm not part of this system, and I could say, well, Dan, I don't want to pay it either. You know?
Right.
So I know if I was on that system, I'd be evaluating my household members, and I would be shutting water off after you have 15 minutes to complete your whole shower, and then the valve goes off.
It's called a GI shower.
Yeah.
And you know what that is.
What's that?
That's much more generous. I thought you were going to say 3 minutes.
Well, again, we'll go with the median. I know how long it takes me to shampoo my hair, so that's maybe not fair.
Good thing he didn't incorporate that into the average, like Brandon said. It can skew things.
No, I think having a formula, having data, making decisions based on numbers, not just assumptions and hunches, or, well, yeah, we can kind of do it and ease the burden on our folks, but while this isn't, exactly a good pill for them to swallow, it could certainly be worse. And as we saw with one of our last discussions, if we don't address it now, we're going to be stuck with a big bill for something catastrophic later.
Right.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that, yes.
My only ask, Brennan, if you could put together, or the team, would be to take, like, the last 5 years. I know we said some of the stuff we do 5-year average. If we can take the 5-year trend, and what would that trend for next year in terms of expenses, in terms of usage, because it may be trending up, maybe trending down. And I think the fixed cost, the fixed revenues are probably the ones that are maybe more volatile without looking at the data. So just understanding what should we reliably count on from a trend standpoint over that rather than an average. And if we can incorporate that into a projection for 27 and what a rate would be based on that, I would like to see that.
Can we see that for the capital outlay portion too? Because 50,000 doesn't feel like enough.
See what?
What the 5-year average?
Yeah, what the
capital
5-year average
is?
has been for capital.
From water?
If we
Okay.
have it. I'm just wondering, because I know
I don't feel like
50,000
we
is a
spend a lot.
starting point, but I just wonder if we are trying to, I guess my question is, how realistic are we trying to be with that number? Because to me, 50,000 feels a bit low. And so if we were going to try and put something forth, I just wonder, I'm just curious to see what that average looks like, if it's gratefully different or not.
Yeah, we can put that together.
And that 50 is coming from approximately $1.5 million project on a how many year note?
If we use what we did on Arch, I think that was a 20.
A 20, but
it's a
50 is
fixed-
not is not like a flat payment. It's the initial
first-
portion before the balloon,
First
right?
8 years are that, and then it balloons.
So it's probably not. If we're truly borrowing and planning to pay for this
Yeah.
out of a borrowing for the whole term, it's not the right number for a $1.5 million project. So that may be another factor. Is just look at what would approximately do we think a debt service would be if it was 20 years annualized payments. It's a good point. And what has our spend been? Because I think
Yeah.
most of our spend up until maybe last year or the coming year has been out of various sources, not out of capital state, not out of water capital. So
Right.
it hasn't been specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the work in the water tower we did in the water tank we did. I think we did that out of capital or free cash. So
And we'll pull it all together.
Thank you.
This probably isn't gonna be the hottest topic, but why aren't we talking about this for sewer?
Why?
We're
I have
talking
strong
about
opinions, but
large
go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
wastewater expenses.
Yeah. Versus
Like,
it being
we
in the
should be doing
tax
the
rate.
Same thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I
how
have
we
an
do
opinion,
it.
but I'll let others go first.
I'm not disagreeing with Thomas.
Well, I
You've
know,
brought it
it's- no one wants to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room, but
Right.
there a
it's
way-
costly, and
Is there a way to estimate how much sewage is coming out of each house?
I,
mean-
I don't have the answer to that.
Not well.
Pete,
There are different models.
Or is it just based on the number of bathrooms or the people in the house?
There's
or?
different ways.
There's
to
different
do it.
ways.
Or a flat fee. I don't know. I'm just thinking of a way to also, if we're talking about debt service for sewer, it's no different than water.
About a year and a half ago, Pete researched this and looked at a few different models. To your question, Linda, several towns use what the water consumption looks like as a way to bill for the sewer system. So there are models we can borrow from, but because we're only providing public water on one side of town,
Right.
it doesn't give you a true picture. So it would be
Yeah.
hard. And I think the model that you drafted had a flat fee proposal for
Everybody
non,
connected to the sewer.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking of what we don't have to take out of, from taxation or whatever. Just a roundabout figure back then at the time, I took the number of houses that were connected to the sewer. It doesn't matter if you're on a well or town water, because that's the only way you're going to be able to bill it. So back then, it hurts. I know it does to have to pay out. I'll get a sewer bill if we ever do it. I get a water bill. So, but like even back then when I was figuring this out, if you take the number of houses that are tied into the sewer and say you just charged them $500 a year, that's it's almost $250,000. That's almost just a hair under a quarter of the operating budget. My mind thought on it is that if any way we can generate money to offset that, so it'd help your taxes not go up so much or whatever, cut down the operating cost. Eventually we got to run. I don't mean to ramble on, but eventually we got to start doing things like every other town around us. You get a sewer bill, you get a water bill.
Yeah, just to be clear, I also have a water bill and a sewer bill, but at the same time,
Most of
I
us
don't-
would be paying at least one of those up here. So we're not saying
Yeah,
that
so I-
people who aren't going to
I think
be
that
impacted.
there should be an offsetting formula to try to help pay for some of these.
We'll offer a counter argument in a minute. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, is that something that Brandon and Pete could work on for our next meeting to present for us? Because I think in order to have a starting point of even to consider something, we need facts and figures. So if that's something that they can do and present for us similar to this, I think it would be helpful.
It isn't, well, I guess it might be if we were trying to do it this year, but I was going to say timing wise, I don't know is Monday realistic? And there's a lot going on. Do we need more than a week? I'm
Probably
asking
not.
you to.
Monday's probably not realistic.
In the next couple weeks? Is that,
Sure.
To that discussion,
So-
could I just add the thought? Water users have always paid for the water bill. And people who are not on the sewer get to bring septic to the plant for free. So that's their part of it. But when you take all the sewer costs,
you're gonna,
if you take them off the tax rate, let's just say, for Pete's example, it's just a number, say it was $500 per household, taking it off the tax rate. If you leave it on the tax rate, would it cost the household $150 apiece? Because of the way our tax rate is structured. I'd just like to be cautious that we don't do something, good planning is great, but I don't want to charge people 500 or 300, whatever it might be, per home, if leaving it on the tax rate means that they're only paying 150 or 200.
so I'm gonna add on to that. So about 500, and these are really rough numbers, obviously, so don't hold anyone to them, but they're in the ballpark, is about a third of or a quarter of our operating budget? Quarter? I think it was about quarter, right?
Almost, because
And about a quarter of it is paid by outside of town rates. So 3 times that is self-funded. So that's $1,500 a household approximately. And that's more than our tax bill for some people. When it's in our tax rate, one of the largest taxpayers is not a subscriber. So 70 to 80% of the wastewater costs are paid by the Mountain Project and businesses. Some may be on it, but and the taxpayers aren't paying it. So just that's my counter argument to wastewater versus water. Every resident, even if they have a septic, has a benefit out of the tax cost that they're putting in towards sewer. And pretty sure the rough numbers for those who get to have their septic hauled or moved off at the town's expense, that portion when they're not connected is approximately what the portion of their taxes is every year if they had to hire it out. And we no longer did that. And on the other hand, out of the $750,000 that is the residence portion of the operating cost, 75-80% of that is not paid by a subscriber. So that's my argument against it. Just to put the other side of it out there, because they're going to pay, I don't know, what's that math? 600,000 of the 750, approximately, with the shift and everything. Is it high 70s to 80%?
That for like a water main project.
If we taxed for it.
Yeah, if it's on the tax rate.
If we taxed for it, yes. So just that's my counter to it, is like that burden right now is shifted on to primarily our largest taxpayer and not on the citizens. And if we moved it to a payer rate system, that burden would completely shift on to the taxpayers instead. So it'd be a huge shift and actually be a huge increase, I think.
Yeah. It seems like if there was some law requiring us to do that, we might do that. But if there's no law requiring us to do it, we may not want to do that. But it's good
To be part of the analysis. I don't want to assume my numbers are right, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say, looking at the clock, it's 8:45. And we still have budget stuff to get through. Is it possible for Brandon and Pete to take what they've heard tonight, work this all up into a memo presentation, facts, figures, and come back to us in a couple, maybe 2 or 3 meetings down the road, and present to us? So that way we have taking what Dan has said and what you have said about where it's coming from, how it's coming from, what all that looks like in the grand scheme of things. So that way we all have everything in front of us to look at and review.
I think that's doable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it'll be a good comparison. So, yeah. What's your tax savings? What's your water or your sewer rate costs, and be able to understand that better. Okay. So we'll bring water back in a future meeting when we're ready to talk about the rates and when we have more, some more data to look at again. Sewer we'll look at hopefully in a couple of weeks. Operating budget, did we have anything for that tonight? I knew of one thing.
We have not gone through the administration budget at all.
Right. And we will in a couple minutes. I don't know of any changes to projected revenue, so I believe that's where it was last time you all met about it. And beyond that, we have the annual town meeting warrant and bylaws. So the ATM, we don't have a new draft, but we have a bylaw request. Just relative to the dog bylaw. I won't bore finance with that and capital if they don't want to stay for that part.
Thank you.
Because I don't think it'll be materially financially impactful. I'm good with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
I don't believe we have the administration budget in the packet. But what I can say is, I think legal fees, was that discussed last meeting? I wasn't here for last meeting. There's legal costs and rising legal costs, I should say. Was
I
that
know we've
last time?
discussed it. I don't remember when we discussed it. I don't believe it was last week.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did touch on it.
It was last time? Okay.
Yep, adjustment to legal of $60,000.
Okay. So that was already incorporated into the numbers you looked at last week. The other item, which the board also hasn't discussed, but to bring it up because we're on a time crunch, is administrative support, right? To Dan's point earlier, the amount of things that we're doing just keeps growing, and the amount of tasks, oversight, projects that we keep taking on keeps growing. And we've done things over the years to try to build out the support staff for it with a planner, with other things. And I know the board's talking about adding an IT, management level role and expanding. So that's expanding that, and everything continues to grow. So I don't think that our, and Brian and I spoke about this, the administrative staffing model is sufficient for the workload that we have. And I know it's a tight budget year, but we talked about it a few years ago with the override conversations about needing more support, and it has only continued to grow. The amount of work with, in turn with those legal fees, with union contract negotiations, other aspects, the health insurance changes, all of these things add burden, a lot of it to the administrative department, and we haven't done anything to expand the support hours there and staffing. So we don't have an exact model of what that would look like, whether that's a couple part-time people or one full-time position. But what I was encouraging us to propose to everyone is to fund it at a full FTE, and then give us some bandwidth and time to develop an exact scope of work and job duties that would plug into the department, so that we could build out the administrative budget and the administrative staff the rest of the way.
That's what you decided to talk about. Got it.
As soon as you left, we got to it. Someone asked about administration, so here we
How
are.
did you get to the back row so quickly?
So the recommendation would be to we identified a grade, and to fund it at 40 hours, and then we will have a little bit of runway and time in the balance of the fiscal year to define exactly what role or roles is that funding and what are their responsibilities within the department. But that's a placeholder in dollars to get a budget figure to then support that going forward. So that's the one change that I know is the ask in the narrative, so to speak. And we talked about legal was already covered last meeting. I don't believe was there any other significant changes in the admin budget to
No.
discuss?
The only other change that I have
Or
on the
request?
budget is on the EMS.
Okay.
Last week you all discussed a slight additional increase to EMS, and Chief has since followed up with all of our service partners, and that actually, instead of the $3,600 I asked for that to be increased, it can actually be reduced by $9,743. Yep.
Up and back down a little.
As other towns are finishing and districts are finishing their budgeting, we're getting refined numbers, so.
I'm sorry, I may have missed it. Did you have a dollar figure for that position?
Do you have that number? No.
I don't have it right now.
Okay. I don't have that number right now then. I have to look at the table and we'd have to build out the dollars again. But I would recommend that it comes with an additional benefit capacity too, because we have whittled it down with other positions and other changes that are in the budget. So there's very little capacity left in our health insurance budget. And so this is potentially a benefited position. Maybe it's not, but maybe it is. I think we are down to barely one full benefit package of capacity in that budget right now.
I think we have 2.
I think it's 1.5. But it's not a lot. So if we were to add this position and it was a benefited position, we would effectively pretty much be budgeting at near zero. And we could. We've done close before, but there's a lot of moving parts in that budget, and I'd hate to be that tight if we can find money to fund it one more. Which I think is in the 40 range, around 40 for the benefit. For a full package, about 40.
I need to double check the numbers, but
Okay.
with the increases, I know it's over 30.
Yeah, okay. I think it's close to 438, maybe 40, something like that.
So if we budgeted insurance already at 20%, we could just, in theory, would leaving it at 20% instead of reducing it to the 12 or 13% that they voted in.
It wasn't budgeted at 20. No, it was budgeted at something near the original number, and then there's negotiations that have to be done because of the changes they made. And net, there was only a couple positions of capacity, and they've added one. I don't know if the IT has been budgeted, but the position has been moved forward, which is a benefited position. So that brings it down to just over one left, based on my discussions, mine and Brian's, with the treasurer. And then I don't know if the IT position funding is in the budget either, that you guys talked about.
Talked about it last week. That was in the calculation.
In the calculation?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
So the IT position is in the budget.
Well, you all tell me that.
It's in the numbers.
Brought the number forward to you all, and everybody just nodded in agreement. So I took that as nobody had strong opposition, but nobody has told me to change the budget yet.
Oh. That was a yes, no. As it stands right now, that position is in our numbers. We're
Yes.
accounting for it in the budget.
As of last week.
Okay.
We talked about that,
Okay.
yes. Should I recap what we talked about at the last meeting?
Not just for my benefit. If anybody else wants to, that's fine, but does anybody want to hear it? Are you guys good?
Good? Okay.
I'm assuming that the people watching us are so enthralled with what we're doing that they're encouraging their friends to walk, and they're all having a party at their house to watch what's going
You can
on.
go watch the last one, and,
Well,
and the packet's
that's
there
right.
too. So
Yeah.
The Board of Selectmen watch parties.
So,
They can run a split screen on their smart TV and watch last week's meeting as a reference, and
it's like Wild Wings parties and stuff. Like,
Too bad we don't have a nice little pub for everyone to go to and hang out.
well,
Have a few beers and
I've often said I was at the Lithuanian Club in Athol, and the Celtics were playing, and one guy yelled, "Shut that off! The select board's on." so maybe that won't happen
I
here.
don't know if it got booed out, but
But I just want to recap just very briefly that the potential loss for not protecting, we've got hundreds here, dozens of access points for all of our IT stuff. The school, highway, everywhere, it's all over the place. And people are constantly, not good people, trying to hack into these things. And if we don't have everybody doing everything the way it's supposed to do it, the potential risk, I don't know if it's 100 times the cost of an IT person or 1,000 times or what it might be, but the potential loss is incalculable if you don't have somebody watching the store who knows what they're doing. not, gee, I Googled something and here's what I think we ought to do.
Yeah.
So having a professional here to protect the town, I think it's a great idea. How you fund it, I'm not certain, but I think it's a great idea.
I could tell you offline what that coverage looks like.
I'm sorry? What?
I said I could tell you offline what that coverage looks like.
Okay. Well, won't go there. Okay.
I can tell you every year the insurance company asks more and more questions about it in our cyber policy for the town
Very detailed.
about how well we're protecting ourselves against it. And I'm sure the policy cost keeps going up at the same time, even if we say, yes, we're doing all the things they ask. So it's definitely not cheaper every year.
Brian, what is our drop dead date
Of what?
to have this done?
Oh,
I'm shocked.
stand by. Your town meeting is on May 13th. I need 7 calendar days minimum to legally comply. I would encourage you not to wait that far.
Why did you give us that date? That's not really what
And
you
you typically like to give the residents as close to a month with the materials. So if we could target the week of April 13th as our drop dead, that would be helpful. Then we could get everything to the printers, finalize everything, and get it mailed out to folks.
So I get it, it's a little hard not having the numbers from for the admin position and having that information at hand and what that would do to the budget. I would propose that we have that all for next week, including all of the other changes that we had incorporated, which I think the only true outstanding one that we didn't get to would be the library's request for a person. I think that's the only thing we haven't talked about. If my memory is
That's the last
correct.
one I recall.
Okay.
That's the last one I recall.
And then go through it and discuss, see where we're at and discuss everything when we have all that information in front of us, unless others feel differently. But I feel like it's a little hard to talk about the budget when we don't have all of the numbers and everything.
I can work with Brandon this week and we can revise and get
Okay.
everything ready for next week. And then obviously everything you discussed for capital will be embedded into the draft warrant. So you'll have all of that to review as well. And
Okay.
then you can decide what you want to remove or what you want to keep.
Okay.
From last week, Jeb, were you going to ask, there was a discussion about asking the school for 11,000 something dollars or not, or a different way of looking at that, or I don't recall exactly what your discussion was.
So you're referring to the conversation with the school business manager
Okay.
in that conversation. So there was the review of the secondary budget, and the consensus of the group was to ask the school committee to level fund it, that you all were going to recommend level funded to the voters. And then there was a question on the primary education, whether or not to level fund ordinary expenses. And that was a difference of about $10,000
Yeah.
and change. I've since heard from Principal Gannon that they're working to make those revisions. And I know I spoke to the school committee chair just to recap what was discussed. So school committee is aware of that request. Obviously, Caitlin was present and engaged in that
Yeah.
conversation with you all. And I know the principal relayed back to me. So I know the team's working on it.
It's being handled. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
And I just want to be clear, that went for any department that asked for an increase.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't want the school to feel like they're getting picked
No,
on.
no.
It's for anybody who asked for an
We
increase.
made the changes to the fire and EMD and a couple other spaces that
Okay.
you all called attention to as well,
Okay.
I think there might be a wastewater adjustment to do still.
potentially.
Yeah, that was the same kind of thing that we talked about it and said they could absorb it, so may help a little. So those are the only outstanding items in terms of operating budget?
So do we want to determine the library position so that can be factored or not factored?
I don't know I haven't looked at where we left off last week, so I don't know how far deficit or surplus we are right now, so.
Do you want me to figure that all out for next week, and then we'll bring that request back? And we can also go back through one more time on the narratives just to see if there was anything that we're forgetting about.
Sure, in your free time.
I have a great team behind me, so I will ask them for assistance.
But yeah, we can have numbers for all the items that aren't in, and we can make
Yeah.
the dollar decisions from there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else other than the bylaw on budget, capital, ATM, revenues that we didn't cover? Anything else for the joint meeting?
Did you want to discuss the bylaw piece real quick?
With the joint meeting? The dog
I sent it
bylaw?
to well, there's the dog, but there's the
Was there another
clause
bylaw?
22J
Oh,
Oh,
thank
for
you.
the Heroes Act.
Yep. Thank you. That's the one I missed.
So I put the guidance back in your packets from the Department of Revenue, and it obviously discussed several different sections related to the Heroes Act, but 22J is the one that we did not yet adopt, and we were continuing to consider. You have 22I adopted.
Thoughts?
Seems to be a silent discussion.
Yeah.
I would recuse myself from any financial vote about this, so not, I think I'm conflict of interest because I'm a veteran. And how much it would cost depends on how many veterans come to town. I think it's a good way to say it, as any. It would increase what veterans currently get, I believe.
Correct.
And other than that, it just depends on if veterans move out or 100 veterans move in.
Right.
It's impossible to predict that, I don't
Right.
think. Just
So
in general,
I
my thought
put
is-
together,
Go ahead.
excuse me, Dan, I
No,
didn't
go
mean to
ahead.
cut you off, but I put together, when looking at the bulletin for 22I and 22J, and I ran across a document from Brookline, city of Brookline, and they dealt with the same issues that we're dealing with now in the discussion of talking about 22J and 22I. And all of that seemed to fall under Mass General Law 59.5. And what they did was they went further with it, and they adopted Chapter 59, Section 5C and a half. And so I printed out some copies of that, and they covered all the clauses: 17D, 22, 22A, 22B, 22C, 22DE, and then included elderly and the blind. Just as an example, Brookline has a community of somewhere around 60,000, and as of 25, 26, using that service was 76.
76 people?
76 people
Out of 60,000.
out of 60,000.
Wow.
And their upfront cost was, my glasses, $35,750 for those 76 people. And they actually broke it down into prior years and showed that that over the years it's dropped by 14%, 14 to 16%. So it appeared to be cost effective, and what I did really like about it is that they funded the program by doing an tax overlay.
What?
A tax overlay through the assessor's office, and totally funded the program in that way. The other thing I liked about it is they also have an advisory committee that reviews everything that comes out of the assessor's office as it relates to, much like the finance committee and capital planning. For 60,000 people, their advisory committee is 24 individuals. obviously in Erving. He's not to pull together 24 people, but just the idea that there were more eyes on subjects that came out of the assessor's office, and that there was a vote and the town working together to say yes, no to the projects, and I put these together for I didn't print out enough for everyone, but what I did print out is for you as well, Dan, as the assessor,
Thank you, Bill.
assessor's office, and Jim.
Yeah, give mine somewhere else. I don't need one.
Okay.
I will share with the FinCom.
I'll go everything.
FinCom's not sharing with you. Nope, them either.
Give you
Brian, would you be able to scan it and just email all of us?
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, I think everyone should look at it, and it answers 99 point questions we're trying to answer today.
Bill. Bill, now that you're back. Bill had just noted that the document answers like 99% of the questions that we've all asked a few times over the last year about this stuff. You believe?
It does.
Bill, while you're doing that, I'd like to thank you for cutting me off because you've got information. I've just got some anecdotes talking about. So, thank you very much for doing this.
You're welcome. There's enough information there that I think if we all took some time to digest what's in Brookline's document for the last since 1998 they've been doing this, so it's pretty good information in there, and I liked what I saw, and hopefully we can use that
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
to further the conversation.
It's great. We'll carry it for next meeting.
Okay,
And
stop
I'll be really curious to read it and see like what's the increase from adopting these, because it doesn't. I mean, I know we also recommended decreasing the budget because we're not expending it. So I don't know that I see this as a big shift in that. So if we're not expending what we have, and if we still have plenty of budget, why wouldn't we? Well, for me, but
Does this have
Thank
to be
you.
done at an annual town meeting?
It does not have to be done at an annual, but it must be in place before June 30. Otherwise, it wouldn't be applicable for the subsequent fiscal year.
I don't mind if there's time to put it on the annual, it's great. If not, I just asked the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, because then we have to. I believe it's us who would set a percentage, and we have to do it before July 1 every year.
Right.
So we adopt it once, but then it's like revolving and other things. We have to set a limit every year, or set a percentage for that for Jay.
And that's the other thing, that 59 C and a half. If we adopted that, you don't have to do that every single year.
Oh,
It
okay.
carries forward until every year after, until you decide you don't want to
Change it. Okay. I think we've adopted all of the other ones, but we can confirm. Excellent.
I know that was a concern. Now, was it something, once we adopted it, we would have it forever? And what do we do if 100 veterans move to town?
Right.
And so it looks like either way, it's unlikely that 100 people are coming here, veterans, and we don't have to have it forever. So, thank you.
I don't think we'll have housing stock for 100 people in 1 year
Yeah.
anytime soon.
I'd like to know how many veterans and elderly are using the system.
It's easy to get.
in that way. That information would certainly be helpful.
Can you help get that for next meeting? Okay, great.
Dan, would it be possible, and if the answer is no, that's totally okay, for the assessors to kind of provide an idea of what our costs might be just for one fiscal year, just kind of a ballpark? I don't know if that's like just a ballpark number of what this could cost.
We could base it on what we currently have for veterans. We couldn't give you much on what it could be 2 years or 5 years from now.
Oh, sure, sure. No, just kind of just a general idea.
Okay, with what we have now.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you, Bill. This is really helpful.
You're welcome.
Anything else on that one before we move on? Okay, we'll talk about that next week as well. I believe that's everything now for the joint session, and we'll come to the other bylaw without everybody. Anything else you all have for us?
You guys are resuming.
We're continuing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, continuing.
Do the thing. Motion to adjourn the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Capital Planning, and Finance Committee, and the Board of Selectmen will resume their normal meeting.
Second.
You have to wait till Brian gives me the nod that I said it right.
All those in favor?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll look at him next time you said it.
Aye.
May I ask if capital is at the next meeting? Because I believe that we've performed our duty.
Do you all want to take votes on the recommendation of articles?
Yeah.
You don't have
And
to.
I think at least
No.
one of my fellow selectmen said, one said, I don't know what I'd cut, and another said, there's some things I think we may need to tweak. So
Okay.
I think there may be more capital discussion, so it would be preferred 7 o'clock work.
Next week.
That's a question, yeah. I know
Yeah.
this is just scheduling since the joint meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's okay. I got a majority
me.
vote. Half didn't vote, but I got a majority, so.
I was gonna say, was there a vote on that motion?
There was a majority of people who did vote. But
Oh,
there was a minority who didn't hear me call for it, I think.
I did not hear you call for it. That explains my confusion.
Okay. I got enough yeses that I didn't continue.
And I'm
It's
not
okay, though.
arguing with it.
FinCom Capital, Monday, 7, will work. I got enough nods.
We meet Easter Monday? That's not a
Yes.
holdover for the hot.
Yes. but
That's a
not-
scowl.
No, I was
Well,
trying to
Easter's
figure
a
out what
Sunday.
dates we're talking about.
Yeah.
But not on April 20th. That's Patriots Day.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if that was a record. If that
But
was
we're
a-
going to be done with the budget before then,
Please.
because that is too late.
Yeah, if we're done on
We're going to try to target next week's meeting to wrap it. In worst case, I guess we can push it one more, but I really don't want to do that to the team 'cause it's a lot of work. So hopefully we can wrap it next week. We'll be this close.
We'll take the week of the 20th off.
Yes, it would be nice. It's been a lot of back-to-back. Thank you all. All right, we will continue our discussion. We're on dog bylaw amendments. And I need to step away for a minute, so I will leave you guys to start that discussion.
Okay. So, at the conclusion of our discussion at the last meeting, you all pointed out some edits that need to be made in reference to the dog fund within that draft bylaw.
Yep.
Gave that feedback back to Town Clerk Dick Newton. So thank you, Bill, for sending that email along. And then I had him go back through this one more time and make any other additional edits that needed to be done. He also put a couple questions in here that we can discuss or address. So his edits are appearing in blue, and red is what I had changed. So he would just propose to you all that we add, because we use the term animal inspector in the bylaw, but we don't actually provide a definition of animal inspector. So if you're okay with that, I will prepare a draft of what that definition should be.
Okay.
In terms of section 121-5 regarding the animal control officer, and he just posed a question, why does this have to be done annually? The statute says so. So it is confirmed that in MGL chapter 140 subsection 151, it is a requirement that the Board of Selectmen do this annually. It is the same requirement for the animal inspector that also must be done annually by the Board of Health. So we can remove that note. Next page. He found the two references to the dog fund and proposed to strike them. Under section 121-8, licensing requirements, he would like to propose to you several revisions under subsections B, C, and D. The first in B is to strike the word several, as that sounds extremely subjective.
Yep.
And we're not sure what that refers to.
Yep.
So he'd like to suggest to you that that is a maximum of 10 dogs.
Okay.
As I believe Deb Smith noted at the last meeting, there's potentially some revisions that we need to consider with the planning board and the zoning bylaw as they handle a special permit process for kennels. But this is his current suggestion to you. In subsection C, he's proposing to add the title of animal inspector into the list of officials who may conduct those required inspections. And just to clarify that it's not just an inspection upon opening a kennel, the initial licensing, it is an annual requirement of the law that must be conducted. He would also like to clarify by adding a new D and then renumbering all the other subsections to clarify that before that hobby kennel or commercial license can be issued, all dogs must have current rabies on file with the town clerk. That's our current practice, but the bylaw as it's currently written does not fully articulate that. Yeah. So everything else is just a renumbering of those subsections. We'd already previously looked at those red line edits.
Brian, could I just
Yes, sir.
make a comment on
Please.
C?
Yes.
1, 2, 3rd, no, second sentence down, it says animal control officer. Natural resource officer and fish and game warden are the same people.
Okay.
And so they don't even use natural resource officer anymore. And
Okay.
really not fish and game warden, it's Massachusetts Environmental Police.
That's your preference?
Both of those
Okay.
two, they
Okay.
are the same thing.
So from where it says a natural resources officer through game warden
Yep.
would all be replaced with Massachusetts Environmental Police.
Environmental Police.
You got it.
So these edits are from the town clerk?
Everything in blue is from the town clerk. The red is
When did we get these?
this Friday.
Okay,
He
'cause
sent
it was
he
after
sent
the
it in
cutoff.
Friday, so it was in the packet. But.
Okay.
And again, if you want to hold this to a future town meeting, we don't need to do this in the annual if you don't want to.
I mean, to me, it's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Quicker we can put something on the docket and get it off, it's kind of where I'm at.
I'm not opposed to it. My only comment is I know when we looked at, I haven't had a chance to read this one today, or before the meeting. Last time we read through this, there was a ton of duplication and repetitive and contradictory language, and I don't, just looking at it, scrolling through it, it doesn't seem like there's enough red line there for it to be cleaned up as well as
You want?
I had perceived it would need to be back then. But I have not read it, so I'm not saying it is or isn't, or we couldn't get there. I don't have a lot to add right now, either way. So at the very least, I just would like to carry it to next week. If you both feel like it's there, then that's okay, but
No.
I just want to take a look through and make sure there's not any other
The one thing
really obvious things if possible.
The one thing I would add is that, and we had that conversation when you codified all the bylaws, and we made some tweaks then, but we didn't really change this whole stock. There's a lot of restating of Mass General Law.
Right.
So things that very well could change from time to time as the legislature considers bills and makes amendments could put sections of this bylaw out of date. Just simply because we've codified it and they've now made amendments, and instead of just referring to the law, we've actually put into body and paragraph what our bylaw says. And so we may constantly have these moments where we have to keep updating it because we've restated something that's now changed. So one thing you could do is pare this down a little bit and make more references to the appropriate statute. And as that is amended by the legislature, so too is our bylaw and its references. But
So, didn't we already, wasn't that one of the things we gave for feedback last time, is to do that?
we definitely,
To not restate MGL and to reference instead so that we wouldn't have that? Because that's what we've been doing with all the other ones. I thought we did. Maybe we didn't.
we struck things that were related to dog funds and some of the things that were blatantly missing. But no, I didn't give that directive only because that's largely going to be a complete wholesale rewrite. And maybe that's what you want to do. And if you do, we can certainly make that a project.
Are we the licensing board? I thought it was the town clerks. No? Okay.
Unless you'd like to make that change.
I wouldn't be opposed. I don't know. Either way. I mean, he's the one that administers and brings feedback on it, so it seems odd that we are the licensing board. Because he's usually the one that brings rates and changes and requests, not us.
Correct.
So I found that incongruous with.
Specifically, you're talking about changing the licensing board for matters regarding dogs, not other licensing board duties that you have.
Just that.
Got it. Okay.
Every time that I recall in my time at the table that, or even as a citizen who was paying attention, discussions of this came up. They've come from the town clerk,
That's correct.
which
Your
there's
bylaws-
nothing wrong with that, but it just seems odd that he's not the licensing board then,
Your
or the
bylaw
licensor.
required at the time that
The board.
any changes to the fees would be done by approval of the select board.
And that's fine. I don't have a
But you
problem with
adopted that MGL a few years ago at town meeting that allows the responsible authorities to set and change fees
that. Okay.
as long as they put them on file with the town clerk.
Okay.
So-
Without that.
Correct.
So if we change that, then he could make those changes.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. Good to know.
So am I hearing we do want to carry this to next week for further consideration, or we want to table it?
Well, it sounds to me like the chair would like to have a more of a comprehensive look at it.
Okay.
So I think we should hold off on it and
Okay.
and take another look at it. See what we want to do.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate that, but if you two are comfortable with what
No.
you see, then I would ask to carry
No,
it for
I
next
would-
week to read through it one more time.
While I am always in favor of doing things in appropriately expeditious manner, I'd much rather we do it right than do it fast.
Right.
You do it once, then yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So is it,
There's a reference in there to you may get a hobby kennel license if you have up to 10, not must. So
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw that one already in
Right,
there. I'm like,
and I was
so
like-
I can get 10, but I don't have to get a license. It's just an option.
So
So there's some of those things that are inconsistent.
we're going to pull from the ATM, and we're going to hold and continue to work on reviewing. And are we making the commitment to review, or am I sending it back?
Sending it back.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to do it.
Okay.
The town clerk proposed it. I'm asking that he goes through and removes any duplicate language. If we're going to go through that
Okay.
process, then let's not duplicate MGL. Let's reference it,
Right.
which is what we did with town codes. It's not
Right.
new, right? He did a lot of that with us before. And that we double checked that we're not contradicting ourselves and saying we have to get a license and you could get a license and things like
Right.
that.
Okay. Okay.
And I do like the point of just referencing the MGL, not quoting it.
Right.
Save a lot of paper.
Occupies about, what, 5 pages?
It's very lengthy as compared to some of our other stuff, so I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there.
It's one of the longest bylaws you have.
Which, don't get me wrong, there can be a lot of things around
Mhm.
having animals that need to be addressed, but.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So I'll still read through it and give some feedback as well.
Thank you. That is appreciated to be able to zero in. So just like you did, Bill, if anybody has specific feedback, zeroing in is very helpful, and I can get that right over to the town clerk.
Okay. You swear on your pinky, you'll go to the town clerk, right?
I did.
Okay.
I sent the last one, I promise.
Too funny. So, okay. Being the licensing authority means we issue the licenses and we get the payment? Is that what that entails?
Good question.
I only ask because later you pay the fines to the town clerk.
Well, no, the fees go to the town clerk.
So then
Yeah.
what does the licensing board do? We're not licensing then.
That's a good point.
Because we're not issuing the license. We're not
So-
taking the payment. We're not issuing the license, right?
Because that language is in there. Everything goes to the town clerk.
Right. So it's,
Yeah.
again, it's inconsistent.
So
I'm
we
not
should fix
saying
it.
it's right or wrong. I'm just it's inconsistent to me, or it's
Okay.
not clear why. And why? What are we licensing?
Right.
If the town clerk is taking the fees and handing the tax, or
Right.
his office is.
Right.
I understand it may be an employee of both of ours, but
Right.
effectively,
Right.
he's handling the money
Right.
in the clerk's office. So what are we licensing?
Correct. No, that's all fair. Okay.
If we're approving fees or approving the licensure or the policy or whatever, right?
Right.
It's a bylaw, so it's not that. But
Right.
okay,
Okay.
those are kind of the things that step back holistically. I think there's opportunity.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Can always save it for a special.
Right. Right.
Okay. Review and approval of POTW number 2, National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, the NEPDES, as we call it, permit renewal application. Thanks for spelling that out for me. I don't know if I've ever known or would have known the words
Just left
behind
it
that.
NEPDES, and I thought everybody would wonder.
We always say NEPDES in lots of conversations, so
Right.
thanks. So this is POTW number 2. It's time to renew the permit. Any concerns with the permit? Are we okaying him to proceed with filing?
I have no concerns here.
I didn't see anything that caused alarm to me, so.
Is there a motion for that? No.
I don't think we need a motion.
No.
We just wanted to make sure that we had your approval before we proceeded. As I stated in the memo, Pete's been working closely with the chief operator at Ursico to make sure that we've got everything answered correctly and that we're ready to proceed if they have questions or if the EPA is ready to approve. So
What's the term on these? Do you know? It's long. It's not like annual or anything.
it's supposed to be a 5-year,
Okay.
if I recall correctly, and
It
there was a
takes
period of
7 to
time
10.
where I feel like it went much longer.
Okay.
I don't know if those are delays that we can regularly anticipate or if they're going to get back on this more frequent 5-year schedule. But
Okay. Yeah, but delays from them, not from us.
it was
But
not us.
on
no.
renewals. Yep. Okay. It looked fine to me. It's got the proper operators and proper applicant info. So, all good.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay to proceed.
Thank you very much.
Review and approval of the treasury warrant.
Make a motion to approve the 21st accounts payable warrant for fiscal year 2026 in the aggregate amount of $129,280.34 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did I miss any regular business?
You got them all.
Sorry.
You got them all.
With that, I'll make a motion that the board move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, which I do so declare. New England Benevolent Police Association, Local 121, Police Unit. We will not return to regular session. Is there a second?
So moved.
All those in favor? Brian, will you call the roll?
Selectman Moyne,
Aye.
Chairman Smith,
Aye.
Selectman Benbury.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.